The sweet aromas of the apple fritter, cinnamon roll, and blueberry muffin are hard to resist. So making it home without reaching in your McDonald's bag is no easy task. But nothing worth doing is easy. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
At participating McDonald's.
Good afternoon. Would you like to try a free sample of our double fudge brownie?
Oh, sure. That's very good. I'll just take one more, just to be sure. Yep, still very good.
Some things never change, like never being able to take just one free sample. And Geico saving folks lots of money on their car insurance.
Is that macadamia nut I taste? Let me take one more.
Sir?
Yeah, I thought so.
15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net. Christopher Media. Let's make some noise. From Asthma Core Studios near Detroit, Michigan. It's unregimented.
Gangsters, what's up, guys?
And now, here are your hosts.
Number 196, I'm Chris.
I'm Aaron.
I'm Rich.
Boy, did I pick a hell of a week to miss last week.
Yeah, you missed all the hot mooch talk.
Wow, all the hot mooch talk. That Boy Scout speech. Wow. I just want to get that out of the air.
to talk about the mooch.
I know,
it's
right?
It's already over.
Just learn who the guy was. So far, my favorite thing that I've heard is like he's like the personification of a line of cocaine. My first impression when I saw that guy is like, they found the Trump equivalent for a press secretary. Like this guy's, hey, let's all grab him by the pussy. I mean, that's how this guy looked to me and how he was talking.
Yeah. Dude, you know in the 80s he was rocking a Don Johnson fucking look. No socks, pastel shirt, and a white suit. You know that.
Oh, for sure.
You know it was great, though, the people that were like, this is a sad story about the mooch. Like, this guy lost his wife and his business. Now he doesn't have a job. Like, are you fucking kidding me? This guy was a supreme asshole, and everyone, including his wife, found out at the same time.
Although points for talking shit about Steve Bannon. I like that.
Okay, yeah, but you lose those points by not knowing that you're talking to a reporter on the record, even though you're the communications director.
Hey, I mean, it's a pretty low bar with Sean Spicer.
He wasn't exactly smart.
Yeah, he lost a job in the Trump administration in 10 days. That pretty much says it all.
How to lose a Trump job in 10 days.
Well, that's fair. I mean, that could happen.
Be that guy. And I'm only going to use this show. This is once. Just one show. That's it. That's all we got.
Well, the beauty of him getting fired is that the rumor that I heard was that they want Kellyanne Conway to do the job now.
Good Lord.
So you're gonna have female beef. You're gonna have female Beavis up there, fucking stumbling through this shit.
Well, at that point,
trying to keep a straight face when she spouts the garbage that she's told to.
Well, at that point, it's like appointment TV, right? It's like put on some popcorn, order a pizza, just settle in.
Yeah, because Kellyanne, she does fine on CNN when she gets just enough time to get out her sound bites.
It's gonna be like, who needs a new episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm? I got this.
But she would be eaten alive if she had to talk to like real reporters all the time.
Oh, I'm thinking she would just eventually reach the point where she snaps and just starts doing her fucking stand-up comedy bit that surfaced from her doing it 15, 20 years ago or whatever it was, and the whole press room just be like, did we break another one?
Yeah, I know, right?
Well, who's this we shit? He still doesn't have a communications director, does he? Or did he appoint somebody?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't think so.
At this point, it's like
8:37 on August 3rd, Eastern Standard Time. No.
Did you see Stephen Miller? I mean, if he thinks that guy's going to step in for that job, good luck. That guy's a real prick and doesn't know how to talk to the press at all.
Well, at this point, it's like that meme I sent you. It's like the apprentice to the president bingo, and
the president.
Yeah, where everybody's like, everybody that's fired, you got to get one, a row of them and shit, and it's. It's just ridiculous at this point.
Instead of Hail to the Chief, they're just going to play this from here on out.
By the way, what the fuck was the point with Mooch taking a swipe at Bannon? Is that like some infighting in Trump's camp?
I think that's just some alpha dog shit, quite honestly.
I think because everybody that gets close to Trump, apparently this is going to be a new White House that we're seeing under this general, what's his name? And the problem before was that there wasn't a chain of command in approaching Trump. Everybody had a direct line to him. So when everybody has a direct line to him, they all think that there's something special about themselves and that they can use that as leverage to push people who they don't like out of the way. Well, I guess that proved true, but in the reverse for the Mooch. He was the one who was getting pushed out because he wasn't well liked. Not to say that Steve Bannon is especially well liked, according to rumors from the White House.
Yeah, I know. It literally is that South Park episode. It's a shit sandwich or a giant douche.
Yeah,
right. So I don't know. I think Steve Bannon. Does he even come outside? Has anybody photographed him in the last 3 months?
Well, no.
I'm wondering if someone. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Wasn't there a point where they said they were officially distancing themselves from him?
That's what I was going to say. I think it's probably someone in the Trump camp who maybe has a little bit of loyalty to him for whatever reason was like, yo, man, you better fucking keep a low profile because the more on the radar you are, the more likely you're going to get to boot. So just go drink in the corner, add to your gin blossoms and your puffy face, and just be quiet for a little bit.
Go lock yourself in your room and suck your own dick. I mean, maybe the Mooch knew something. Maybe it wasn't a euphemism.
I mean, here's the thing. When I heard that, I think we all can agree. What he really wanted to say was he wanted to call him a faggot, but he knew he couldn't get away with it in today's day and age. So he just said he's going to suck his own dick. Or
I don't know.
I'm not going to suck I'm not going to suck my own dick like Bannon.
I don't know that that's what he meant by it. I took it as, and I don't know. Actually, there's audio of it now, so we can hear it in context. I've yet to listen to it, but I did read the transcript from the interview, and it sounds like he's saying that he's not just here to talk about how great he is, and that's something that Steve Bannon does a lot, sucks his own dick.
I mean, I guess. I don't know, because
who knows? We're debating on what a guy who was fired meant by saying that somebody else sucks his own dick.
So we're at everybody. Welcome to our new crazy society.
I mean, honestly, the word cocksucker gets thrown around with my group of friends and at work, and none of us mean literally you're sucking cock.
Can't say anymore, Rich.
I don't give a fuck. Protest me. I don't give a shit. I'm bored. I ain't got nothing else
Can't
to do.
say anything to anybody anymore. It's the new world order.
Even my gay friends are like, I don't think that's homophobic. Like, especially if you call me a cocksucker, I'll be like, and what's your point? And I'm like, see, there you go. So it's just stating a fact. But no, it just, oh my God. The more I think about it, the more it's like Trump. That White House has to be like a fucking high school football team locker room. Like it just.
You're gonna have to enlighten both of us, because I was in the band.
I'm just saying, just like you said,
drama club over here,
or a prison, alpha male shit. Picking at each other, trying to find a weakness, and always jockeying for position, etc., etc. Or a Marine platoon or something like that. That's what I mean. Like, because it's ridiculous. It's like a bunch of teenagers and 20-somethings.
It was pointed out by more than one person that what Scaramucci was doing in the New York Times interview was leaking. At the same time, he was saying he was going to fire everyone for leaking, and that he and Trump have a zero tolerance policy on leaks. And what is he doing? He's fucking gossiping to a reporter. He's talking out of school, man.
That's what I'm saying. That's a high school fucking football locker room. Hey, did you hear about so and so? Hey, yeah. I mean, look, this is something that I'll give women when they say, "Hey, wait a minute, we're not the only ones that fucking gossip." Goddamn, I know men that gossip more than women. So that's not a gender specific thing. So I mean, that's just normal fucking human being shit. But it's like, hasn't there always? I mean, I know that we're beyond this, but hasn't there always been a level of at least keep the appearance of professionalism?
Oh, not anymore.
Decorum? Well, no. I mean, we saw the transcripts from Trump's conversations with the Mexican president and the Australian prime minister. I mean, we knew about these calls. We had heard that they had gone poorly, that he seemed angry, that he hung up on the Australian prime minister. But to actually read verbatim what happened on these phone calls is rather bizarre.
For me, I'm just color me not surprised. Wow, we found out he's a dick. Really? Like, I guess I don't know. It just seems like we're filling up. We're creating content because we need it. Like, wow, we know he's a dick. We didn't need transcripts to prove it.
Well, no, but it is telling. I mean, look, there was some actual interesting information in there, especially with in both phone calls, though. The one with the Mexican president, Nieto, is that how you pronounce it? He says to him, look, however this wall gets done, it's going to get done. And I'm going to take care of it, and we're going to work it out. In the end, it's all going to work out. I just need you to stop saying that you're not going to pay for the wall, because it's making me look really bad. And as we know, I mean, I don't know that he is still as vocal about saying that he's not going to pay for the wall, but neither has he backed down from his position that Mexico is going to have anything to do with paying for the wall. And it shows that Trump understands that's the reality of the situation. But it doesn't matter what the reality of the situation is. What matters is the perception to his base.
Yeah.
They have to see that the Mexican president is giving. And
I mean, I guess for me, I work with a lot of that personality, like with a lot of people I deal with my job. So for me, I'm like, oh, a guy who thinks all he does is tell everyone what a big shot he is, wants everyone to still think he's a big shot. Not for me, I'm like, yeah, okay, next.
Right, but I mean, it does show that if you're still thinking that this guy, come on. I'm sorry, my cat's like climbing all over everything, including myself, and now she's just trying to take down the microphone.
Got that pussy everywhere.
You're like what's Hugh Hefner without Viagra, surrounded by pussy you can't fuck.
Right, so if you still believe that there's going to be a wall built and that Mexico is going to pay for it, then you must believe that this transcript is fake, that this is deep state shit.
Aaron, anything's possible anymore. Like, before November 8th, I'm going that's far-fetched. No? Sure. Why not? I got that John Oliver mentality. What was it? A few months ago.
What are you saying why not to? That it may be faked deep state shit, or that people would believe that?
That people would believe that.
Yeah, well, of course. Well, like, it's the same thing with racists. You're not going to talk a person out of hating somebody for their skin color. Most people. There are cases where people are just kind of ignorant, and then they're kind of forced to, like, whether their work or through somebody's marriage in the family or something, to actually talk to a person of a different skin color like a normal human being and find out that they're just like them. I mean, that does happen in the world. But at the same time, there's diehard racists that are not going to think any other way. No matter what conversation it happens, no matter what
exactly.
chain of events may occur.
And the way you treat them is you just keep moving on and you let them get left behind. And either they figure it out or they just get left behind.
But the hardcore Trump supporters aren't the ones who put Trump into office. They may have pushed him over the hump that he wouldn't have gotten without it. if you start peeling away semi-reasonable people that are now understanding, like, completely aside from the Russia thing, because I want to get to that too, but we understand that it's like Russia every day, and it's to the point where if you are a Trump supporter, you have no choice but to believe that it's a conspiracy, right? And that means that no matter what the daily news is on Russia, none of it's going to change your mind.
It's not even a conspiracy to them. They just go, it's fake news, and they just write it off. They refuse to talk about it. They refuse to address it. You are fake news. They say it in mocking tones.
Right. But just keep in mind that, this is not only a minority of the population. It's not enough to keep Trump in office. And if you set aside all the Russia shit and just go, okay, well, forget about that. Let's say it's all conspiracy. I still support Trump because of his policies, okay? Well, here's clear evidence that his policies are bullshit, that he's lying to your face about his policies.
His policies make me look good. Like, how did we not know that before he got in office? He is having another rally right now. Like, all this guy loves to do
is... That's the only part of the job that he likes.
It's because it strokes his ego.
And then he's going on vacation.
Because it talks about Donnie. Yeah, him and the rest of the government. Have we ever had in our lifetimes, have we ever had 6 months where nothing got done by any branch of the government as we have in this last stretch? Like, literally, what has happened since January 1st? Where then a bunch of shit Trump tried to do, that the court stopped, and then how long's Congress been sitting on health care?
So should we just, tell Trump, just go out and give stump speeches and do that for the rest of your life, and he'll just wander off and he'll just constantly give campaigns.
Oh no, speeches. That's a great idea, Rich. I mean, maybe that's what The Rock is for, and the fucking what's the other super rich guy that well, there's rumors about him running?
Kanye?
No, well, yeah, okay, he's one. Facebook guy.
Oh,
Zuckerberg. Yeah. You get those guys out there, just spend a little bit of money, show their face, and act like they're running for president. It's going to make Trump want to get out there more to counter that with his own rallies.
The only non-politician I'd vote for in 2020 is Elon Musk.
Right. And you can keep him tied up in Russia bullshit and trying to campaign for the next election and just kind of coast through the rest of the Trump years. I mean, this is plan B, I would think. If we can't get him out of office, let's just get it into coast mode as much as possible.
Elon, get us to Mars.
Here's the thing. Even if he loses in 2020, he's still going to stay on the campaign trail. He's going to be 90 up there fucking just giving speeches to fucking Girl Scouts about Hillary Clinton.
See, I think it's a 50-50 that he'll actually run if he's not impeached by 2020. I think it's a 50-50 chance whether he runs or not, because he doesn't really like the job. He doesn't need the job. He thought it'd be great for his ego, and turns
fucking
out
thing sucks.
Not always.
It's only August. Good for the love of God.
Well, the big policy that was announced this week was the immigration bill, and the amendment to our immigration policy.
What is it? I haven't heard it. So this would effectively, the first thing it does is redefine family, so that if you're trying to get family members into the country, it has to be I think just spouses and children. No parents. But it also says that it puts a priority on well-educated, English-speaking potential citizens that would hold down high-paying jobs, that had skilled labor jobs, stuff like that. It took our jobs! Is that started yet?
It won't. Like, I don't... I can't parse the logic behind any of this, but this will have the amount of immigrants. It's estimated that it will, if passed, have the amount of immigrants coming into this country every year. And make sure that the majority of them are ready to take on good, high-paying jobs. Now, here's the thing. I know that he ran on immigration reform. And I know he ran on this idea that immigrants are coming into this country and causing an inordinate amount of crime, which we know statistically to be false. But statistics don't trump feelings. And, the feeling is that people from other countries are bringing disease, bringing crime, raping, whatnot. And those are the ones that you need to keep out.
What is this, the 1920s?
Now, if you're doing this for to protect American workers, like is also said, this isn't anything that's in the language of the bill, but this is what Trump says about it. This is going to protect American workers. What American workers is it going to protect? Because what you've essentially done is have the amount of
taking away high-paying jobs from us.
But you've have the amount of immigrants that would come in and take low-wage intro jobs, cleaning, grunt work, shit like that.
Oh, Whitey, you ready to start getting dirty again?
Right.
Ready to clean some toilets? Mow some lawns?
Putting preference to people who are going to come in and take the nice jobs with the good benefits and everything. So who the fuck do you really think this is helping? I mean, economists understand that this is going to be a disaster. Most big corporations rely on immigrant labor of some sort or another and understand that this is going to be a disaster because they just can't ask a white person to be paid that little money for that kind of work. They're going to have to pay more and not even be able to find enough people. We're going to have a labor shortage in this country.
Oh, man. They can do what they were doing before, and just anyone who's coming from a country that's got a strong Muslim background, they ask them a couple more questions. Next. And Saudi Arabia should be on that goddamn list. But that's real. That's really all they need. Just to come from a place where Al Qaeda might be, hey, you get asked a couple more questions. Move along. That's it. Keep it coming.
Yes, because
if you think it's unfair, sorry, we got 2 buildings that aren't here anymore. That says why this happens now.
But are people that are wanting to come in this country and try to pull another 9/11? Are they going to come in through legal means?
Fuck no.
They're going to sneak in and they're going to want to fucking stay under the radar as long as possible. They're not going to fucking expose themselves to a vetting process.
And they're probably coming through Canada.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that George Carlin, while you're watching a quiet one, a noisy one will fucking kill you.
So if you just look at history here, though, and understand that this country was able to grow as fast as it did because of the amount of immigrants that came to this country year after year continued to increase. Bigger labor force, able to produce more goods, become a powerhouse in the world. And what do we still want? I mean, America is like any other corporation. We want year-over-year growth. We want constant growth. You work for any company, that's what they're pushing. They put a number on it, 5 or 10%, say this is what we're shooting for. And that's what we do as a nation. We're shooting for 3% growth. That's what Trump's shooting for. He wants to hit 3% growth, which is huge, when we usually see less than 1%. It's good if we see 1.5%. And he wants to go double that because he can just pull numbers out of his ass and say that it means something. And he wants to accomplish that with less people. That math doesn't add up. You want this country to continue to grow, but you don't want to let more people in order for it to grow?
Better start fucking everybody.
And your big genius is business, having a good sense for business. I don't know. I mean, sure. I mean,
I'd say most successful business people know who to put around him, but he hasn't put that great of a team around him.
Yeah, well, everybody with the Make America Great Again hat, get ready to fucking wash some toilets, mow some fucking lawns, clean up hotel rooms, do laundry. And meanwhile, they'll still be taking your jobs because they're going to be, doing computer design and
flip
working
burgers
in the automotive industry. And
you get $15 an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sitting here because of immigration.
Well, yeah, that's another good point, is that if those strict immigration policies were in place at the time, Trump's grandfather would not have made it into this country. He didn't speak English. He didn't have an education. He had no skills. I mean, I'm sure he had a good work ethic, and that can take you a long way, but they found the actual book, I don't know what to call it, they check everybody in, they write down the name.
Yeah, the immigration records.
Yeah, thank you.
The manifest.
Words, I got the best words. And it's under occupation, it was listed for Fred Trump with an F. None. So he didn't speak English, he had no profession, he had no discernible skills. He wouldn't have gotten in. And neither would most of us.
I'm 2 generations removed from people coming over on a boat.
I mean, honestly, if this bill passes, which it's not very popular, the businesses are leaning on the Republicans who are pushing back on the president, and it's unlikely to see, if they couldn't get health care done after talking about it for 7 years, you think this shit's getting done? Because there's people with some real money involved in this process that understand, no, we kind of need these immigrants. I understand that you used them as a wedge to get voters who are scared of people of other skin color to vote for you, but we still need them in here because those voters aren't picking up a brush and cleaning any toilets.
Only 3.5 more years left. And the next president can undo all of this.
Something I've never really understood is if they want to get rid or limit the number of illegals being hired, why don't they go after the people that hire them and throw them in prison?
Right. Well,
because
I mean,
if you're looking at mandatory 5 years for having an illegal workforce, there's going to be a bunch of legal people cutting your fucking lawn.
I used to deal with some dudes that I am for sure their people had to all be illegal. I'm like, man. How are you still allowed to operate?
But, Rich, that is a very good point, because if you want to cut down on hiring of illegal immigrants and then you turn around and have the number of legal immigrants coming into the country, where do you think these businesses are going to turn? They're going to go right back to the illegal immigrant. So you're probably going to find a rise in illegal immigration due to this policy.
You're more shit like that Walmart incident from a couple of weeks ago.
I'm sorry.
Human
Walmart
trafficking
incident?
will go up. I didn't hear where 40 people died in a truck.
I didn't know that was directly tied to Walmart. Was it a Walmart driver?
No, it was just in a parking lot.
Okay,
that's why Walmart's attached to it, just where they found the truck.
Well, that's nothing then. It makes it sound like Walmart was trafficking people. But no, I understand what you're talking about. Yeah, absolutely. Dead people. I mean, people are going to still want to come into this country, and while immigration may be down at the moment, it won't last. The desert and the men with guns at the border didn't stop them. Just because the attitude from ICE and local police seems to be holding them at bay a little bit doesn't mean that they're going to get just as brave with those as well. They're going to be willing to come into this country one way or another.
Well, my buddy who lives in Tucson, I asked him, I said, what do you think? And he's he's fairly conservative. I asked him, I said, what do you think about the wall? Do you think it's going to stop anybody? And he goes, it's not going to stop a fucking thing, man.
Yeah.
It's not going to stop a fucking thing. He goes, you don't understand. I watch these people damn near kill themselves to get into this fucking country. Do you think a wall? They're gonna get all the way to the border, look at the wall, and go, oh well, fuck, we can't deal with that. He goes, if they can't get over it, they'll get under it. They dig tunnels and fucking move drugs into underground anyways.
Right.
So why the fuck won't they just walk through the tunnel and come out the other side on American soil?
If we sealed this country off with not only just a dome, but a whole globe, so it went underground too, you couldn't even dig a tunnel into it, they would invent teleportation. They would find a way. The more and more I look at it, the more and more it's like people getting high. People want to get high. They will find a way. You can right.
Probably how huffing came into play. Well, we're out of drugs. Been the deal. What's in the garage?
I understand that the concept of having a lax immigration policy seems ridiculous, and it can be easily spun as being soft on crime in some way, because you're letting these people in there causing these problems. But it's been this kind of unspoken understanding throughout the history of this country. You want to come in here and work, we want to pay you really cheap wages. Just find a way. Hey, you get over the border, we got a $5 an hour job waiting for you.
Hey, you get here, we got you.
So without the support of any big businesses, and that's probably why you see the majority of Republicans pushing back on this, as it stands, this amendment to our immigration policy is not likely to go through. But we'll have to wait until Trump comes back from vacation, I think, to find that out.
Good. Be quiet for a month.
It's some, I think like 17 days, I think I read.
2 weeks where we can talk about other things?
Well,
hopefully.
I mean, it's going to be a Twitter tirade, I think.
Oh, God, that's true.
Imagine that. Imagine what the White House looks like with Trump in Mar-a-Lago or wherever the fuck he goes, tweeting on the toilet for like 2 weeks straight while the White House just goes nuts trying to decipher and answer for all of these tweets.
Well, I hate to sound like I'm defending the man, but apparently I read the whole West Wing will be vacant for 17 days because they got to do some HVAC work. At least that's what they're telling us.
Well, of course they do, because the White House
sweeping for bugs.
I know, right?
Yeah, of course they do, because according to him, the White House is a dump.
Yeah.
Thing's a piece of shit.
Yeah, put a coat of paint on it. Doesn't anyone put wallpaper up anymore?
Do you realize this office I sit in all day doesn't even have any corners?
Yeah, where am I supposed to put my stuff? And get some gold in there while you're at it.
Yeah, I know, man. And this is coming from a man whose fucking floor at Trump Tower looks like it was decorated by Flavor Flav's dentist. It's got so much fucking gold all over the place. It's like, give me a fucking break, dude. You got the taste of an old black woman. Like, seriously. Like, I'm just leopard print and gold all over the place. Like, just
all you're
Jesus.
missing is a badly drawn portrait of Jesus.
And a crushed velvet picture of Martin Luther King, Jesus, and Abraham Lincoln. There you go. And plastic on the furniture. But keep your ass on that plastic.
There's this douchebag Trump supporter, Jacob Wool. I don't know if you've heard of this guy.
I've heard the name.
No. He's the Wool of Wall Street. He's like this. At 19 years old, he like made over $1 million on some deal or some shit, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, this kid's a genius." He's being investigated for fraud now, but he tweets out the most insane shit. Oh, I think I might have mentioned him before because he tweeted out that Trump should start his own state-funded media.
No.
Well, he said that he pointed out the fact that he asked if anybody knew how many of the presidents on Mount Rushmore were Republican. and pointing out the fact that there's no true Democrats on Mount Rushmore, so therefore Republicans rule and Democrats drool, I guess.
What?
I did point out the fact that I asked how many of the Republicans featured on Mount Rushmore would be accepted into today's Republican Party, or would have even put up with any of that shit.
Yeah, they call Lincoln a commie.
Because the Republican Party looks very different now.
What? You want to give them rights? No.
From what it looked like 100 years ago.
I know. I love that from the fucking idiots on the right who like to point out
Republicans freed the slaves. We can't be racist.
Yeah, and it was Democrats that started the KKK. Yeah, and when fucking Nixon went through the South, he got all those blue dog Democrats to switch to Republicans. So, yeah.
Right, he said, hey, why are you guys Democrats? Republicans are the racists around here.
I mean, it's like, over hundreds of years, nobody changes. Everybody stays static, and political parties keep the exact same ideals they've always had. I mean, come on, man. That's ridiculous. But this is the level of debate you're dealing with those type of people.
Oh, and that's probably why we have that atmosphere in the White House you're talking about, Rich. We bred that. The jocular posturing. I mean, isn't that kind of what it's really turned into with the two-party system? It's kind of turned into that. You're wearing you got the red letter on your jacket or the blue letter on your jacket.
Yeah, it's kind of like the AV club versus the jocks.
Yeah. Exactly. It's like the jocks versus it's the jocks versus the nerds. Like it's everywhere. It's now permeated society. Congratulations, everybody. It sounds grim.
Then you got the libertarians, and they sell drugs to everybody. They don't care. They're that guy in high school.
It's free market, son.
I don't care about your politics. I don't care what you do for your extracurricular activities. Here, buy my weed.
Yeah, I care about my bank account. You do what you want after you give me money.
Right. I don't know what party it is I belong to with the attitude of, you know what, take my money, just let me do whatever the fuck I want.
Yes, as long as I don't hurt myself or another human being, or even another living thing. We'll extend it out to animals for all the touchy-feely people. All right?
Right. As long as you have your tax brackets reasonable,
yeah,
and it's not gonna bankrupt anyone or make anyone homeless, because we all know that's why there's homeless in the world, because inflation, right? But yeah, I mean, I vaguely identify as a libertarian because I tend to agree with a lot of what they have to say until it comes to the taxation and theft. And I'm like, no, if you want to have nice things, you got to pay for them. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You want to have nice shit, you got to pay top dollar.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing's changed.
There's a meme floating around that just says, it's a picture, it's like a still picture from one of the Mad Max movies. And it says, Libertarian Paradise. And I'm just like, the hardcore ones, yeah. Lawlessness, almost anarchy.
First of all, income tax is illegal.
Yeah.
No, man, taxes by civilization. That's the best quote I've ever heard on it. I mean, right there. You want street lights? You want your house to be on fire and somebody comes to put it out? You like indoor plumbing?
Well, no, I don't want it to be on fire.
Well,
but
you know what I'm saying.
It's on fire.
Yeah, you like water coming into your house? You like turning on the lights and that coming on? That's taxes. The end.
God damn it,
Whoa.
Cat. What the fuck is your problem?
You have a fucking libertarian cat over there, man. Talk good about taxes.
Jesus
Cat's flipping
Christ.
out.
Is it a kitten?
She just, yeah. I mean, she's like 5 months old.
Staunchly libertarian cat.
All she did was she was on the windowsill and she leaned over and put one paw on the lamp and tipped it over and took out everything on the nightstand with it. All right. Okay, I think I chased the cats off now. Jesus Christ. I gotta close the door. I'm not gonna get anything done.
You gotta lock your cats out.
Oh, the fucking ashtray. Really? I just cleaned that up this morning. Ouch. Hotter than balls. No, you gotta go too. Okay, sorry about that.
So where were we? Taxes?
Russia.
Oh.
We can't just,
we never leave
Russia.
Russia.
Just not talk about it.
We're always just there.
Right, well, it's maybe a milestone moment. Who really knows? But the appointment of a grand jury, which happened actually 2 weeks ago, we're only just now finding out about it, which traditionally means that they found something that they might want to charge somebody with.
Well, you know me. We'll see. Because it can also end with, nope, nothing. We're done. Because that's the other part of a grand jury.
Yeah, that's one of two options. That's one of two outcomes. Absolutely.
I don't know. Like, Sessions recusing himself. You got Junior tweeting evidence. You got Jared Kushner wanting his back channel. I mean, I'm starting to think, when's anything going to be anything?
But how do you know that all of this isn't something?
Well, I'm hoping, but I mean...
You don't. All we know is what gets leaked out to us. There's no responsibility from the special counsel to keep the citizens up to date, day to day, what's going on with the investigation. And I hear you with the oversaturation on the news, but if you don't think that there's a very good reason for that, then...
I mean, Junior, wasn't he supposed to testify like a week ago?
He did, yeah.
What came of that?
Usual bullshit. I don't think they found... I mean...
Shocking.
Well, look, you gotta ask. They've got to be called in to ask the questions. Do you expect them to lie? Yeah, absolutely. We did find out this week, though, that Donald Jr.'s story was given to him by his father, which is why adoption came up again, because that's how creative Trump is. He's like, Dad, what should I tell him about Russia? Tell him it was about adoption or something. I don't know. Right. So, I mean, look, it's still months away.
What world do we live in?
Still nothing until it's something. But it all adds up to something.
Does it? I mean, I guess it's just the rampant cynicist?
Well, think about this, though. While Trump has said that personal finances, family finances, business stuff that outside of Russia is off limits, that's 100% not the case, because Mueller has an open license to investigate wherever the investigation takes him. You know, he could find no discernible collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia, but he could find tons of other shit going on in Donald Trump's past with his business dealings. And some of that stuff could be illegal, and Trump can be charged on that. It doesn't have to be that. His mission is not find collusion between Trump and Russia. The mission is something's going on here. These stories aren't adding up. You know, we've got these conversations, these reports. We need to investigate it and find out where this really goes. It could go someplace completely separate from Russia. I think that's the bigger worry here. Trump and Putin can play the game of denial and laughing it all off and get their base to believe them. And it's the whole idea of Russia, because that story in and of itself is so inflammatory. The idea that our nation might be controlled by Russia. So, yeah, you're going to pull a lot of headlines with that. But the oversaturation will also keep your base in check to say, oh, this is just all propaganda and it means nothing.
Hey, think about
the
this.
real worry, hold on. But the real worry isn't Russia. The real worry is everything else that Trump has done that's scummy, semi-legal, tax dodgy, etc. I think I don't think that Trump is worried about, maybe it was just the one meeting. Maybe they made a mistake in taking a meeting they shouldn't have, and that was the extent of the collusion. But clearly Russia had an agenda. But how can you dig into somebody like Trump and his whole family's finances and not find anything?
I mean, I don't know. To me, there's a... Again, we're back to... I wouldn't be surprised. And, I mean... I don't know. This just came to me. I mean, what if this is all a smokescreen?
A smokescreen for what?
Oh, what if we're I mean, we brought it up earlier. What country was conspicuously off of the Muslim ban list?
Saudi Arabia.
Country which had pretty much all of the 9/11 hijackers come from it.
Right.
And
what does Saudi Arabia have to do with it?
I'm just saying, maybe he's trying to hide other shit. Like, because isn't he known to have dealings in that part of the world with casinos or hotels and shit?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, there could be any number of illegal activities going on. I know the story that I read today was that they're going back to the last 6 years of Trump's finances. His finances, his kids' businesses, Jared Kushner's businesses. They're raking through 6 years of contracts and business dealings and sales and bankruptcies.
But if it happened before 2015, I mean, what does it matter? In the grand scheme of things, if none of that happens while he's holding the office of the president.
It means that you get to charge the president with a crime. And it would be odd to have a criminal as a president.
Oh, like perjury?
And, I mean, that's what almost got, well, that's what got Bill Clinton impeached, but didn't get him removed from office. You know, he lied, he committed a crime, we don't want a criminal as a president, they impeached him, couldn't remove him from office. Didn't have the votes to pull it off, didn't have the support to pull it off.
And with so they do find someone with the Congress that we have now. Is that happening? I mean,
no,
the worm will have to turn, so to speak, next November.
Yeah, but the worm's partially turning right now. I know it's not large numbers, but
they're still more concerned with winning, with our side wins. I still firmly believe that if it comes down to it, they'd rather have the guy in the red tie than the guy with the blue tie.
But they still have brains, and they're finding themselves forced into situations where they just cannot lie for the president. That some of the things that he's done is so ridiculous that it's not just a question of being party faithful, it's coming off as dumb as Trump is.
But then you have the Paul Ryan tactic of just, I'm not going to talk about it. Next question.
Sure, you do have that tactic, but I'm saying, I'm not saying there's large numbers of Republicans that are doing this, but one by one, there are Republicans that are peeling off individually.
48 Democrats and 3 Republicans let the American people down.
And they're not. Well, that's the thing. Look at how easy it is to not get something passed, even though you have this majority in Congress. your policies are so shit that it's so easy for you to lose those 2 or 3 votes that are essential for you to get anything done. And they put themselves in the situation because they refuse to work with any Democrats on this. So yes, maybe none of this gets done until we flip, and maybe we don't. Maybe, I don't know. Yes, there's a lot of maybes here. There's no guarantees. I mean, I think we also have to admit that we do still have a system, even for the president, of innocent until proven guilty. It's just that this guy looks guilty as fuck.
Let's go. Let's get some subpoenas.
But we don't. I don't like it when anyone's railroaded. You know, I was happy that OJ got out of prison. He was railroaded on a bullshit charge, something that he did. Yes, but he was way over. He was way
looks
overcharged
guilty
for
as
that.
fuck. I mean, what are we waiting for?
But that's not how we do it. It's not based on. We shouldn't be charging people with. We shouldn't be trying to impeach presidents based on. Well, all these people in the country think he looks guilty as fuck. Like, my opinion doesn't matter. It's the fact that there's a system that prevents the president, above all others even in this country, from being railroaded on bullshit charges.
Yeah. He looks guilty, works in the hood. It's good enough down there usually.
Well, hey, speaking of court cases, were you guys following this case of, what was her name, Michelle Carter, that was texting her boyfriend?
I read
trying
about
to get him to
today.
Commit suicide.
Yeah, she got 15 months.
Yes. Well, she's got a minimum of 15 months. She got 2.5 years, but she has to serve at least 15 months before she is eligible for parole. So that's 15 months for sending text messages. Or really just for telling somebody that they should kill themselves. And honestly, I don't know how I feel about that.
I mean,
it's hard to ignore the fact that she's
intent.
Obviously intent comes into it, but like intent is a hard thing to prove. I understand that if you look at the facts of this case, Michelle Carter looks like a really vile person, and she probably is. She also mascaraed the fuck out of her eyebrows for her sentencing, which is really weird.
I think that's a thing now with the millennials.
I don't know if you guys saw that. I think she just wanted a really good reaction or something.
Mandy's sister's 16, and every now and then I get clued into what the kids are into. And yeah, she was saying the other day, apparently now it's a thing to do your eyebrows like that.
Well, you got to have your eyebrows be fire for your sentencing.
Right.
Well, so she's, look, whether you want to look at her as like a deplorable human being, or maybe she's just a confused teenager who pushed something too far. The idea that one person has enough control over another person verbally to commit suicide, to make them commit suicide, and can be found guilty on that, is, again, like, I'm not saying it's right or wrong.
Now what I read,
that's why this case is so confusing to me, because I don't know where I stand on it ultimately.
What I read is the action that took her down is he did it, chickened out, told her about it, and she told him to go try again.
Oh yeah,
and that is supposedly the action that was, like, she sent him knowingly, like, into a dangerous situation.
Right. She said, "Get back in the fucking car," basically, and finish the job.
That is supposedly that's what took her down.
Right. It wasn't go find a noose and hang yourself, or why don't you just go hose yourself in the car and die. It was a direct, like, here's a horrible, a deadly situation that you put yourself into, then told me about it, and I told you to go right back into it.
I mean, doesn't this start? I mean, I'm with you, and I don't know how to feel about it because I keep going back and forth. But I guess what kind of keeps coming, what I keep coming back to, is this the you can't shout fire in a crowded theater kind of situation? Like, where your speech will have consequences?
Obviously, he was a disturbed person because I don't give a fuck who's texting me on my phone saying kill yourself. If I don't want to kill myself, I'm not going to give a fuck. It's not like I'm going to be like, oh, well, Joe Blow told me to kill myself. I guess I got to do it.
They could be doing it every hour on the hour. It's not going to make me want to kill myself unless there's something going on emotionally.
I mean, now is that, and I mean this goes along the lines of one of the biggest arguments we've ever had on this show, at least between Aaron and I, which was, is this a scumbag dick move to do? To take someone, to tell someone who you know is emotionally disturbed to kill themselves over and over? Yes. Is it illegal? Apparently. I mean, I don't. But I just
like in my heart, if I try and look at this as logically as possible, which my heart is very logical, I want to say no, it shouldn't be illegal. There has to be some amount of personal responsibility.
Exactly.
But then take this analogy. What if there is a mentally impaired man, somebody with Down syndrome, and another person told them, if you jump off that cliff, you're definitely going to fly, and they believe them, and they sail off the cliff and die? I would think that I would want that person to be the person who survived, the non-Down syndrome person, to be held responsible for that.
Yeah, like you're kind of knowingly manipulating somebody in emotionally fragile state.
And I want this girl to be responsible for her behavior. And the sentencing and everything, it kind of feels appropriate, but like you have to do with every law, every case is a precedent for something else. And
look out, comment sections.
Look, right, that's exactly what I'm getting at. Comment sections, forums, Twitter.
Is 4chan on high alert today?
I mean, it's a daily occurrence where somebody is telling somebody else, you should just kill yourself. Now, in most cases, they don't even know the other person.
Yeah.
And maybe they are going through some shit, right? And so then my kid gets on some forum acting like an asswipe because he's a stupid teenager. He tells somebody they should kill themselves because that's what he sees everybody else doing, calling each other N-word and fag and all this stuff. And so he just mimics that behavior, and now he's found himself in juvie or behind bars somewhere because he told somebody that they should kill themselves, and they did.
Is this a case of where it really is all fun and games till somebody gets hurt? Like, literally.
I mean, would it be the worst thing in the world if we were all too afraid to tell somebody to kill themselves, even ironically? No. But I don't know that that's where the line is drawn. I mean, again, you made the analogy of fire in a crowded theater, which I think is perfect, because there is a line there that we draw. We say, this is free speech, and this is unreasonable and should be punished. And I guess that's what we're doing here, and maybe it's because
I guess because it had consequence. There was a cause and action. I mean, there was a consequence to it.
Right. No. Yeah.
Well, also, this didn't happen on a public forum. I've been a member of public forums.
No, you're right.
To where
you're right.
If you tell someone to kill themselves, or you say you're gonna find someone to beat the shit out of them, they IP ban your ass. I mean, there's ways around it, obviously, but I mean, it's a pain in the ass. But I mean, there's zero tolerance for that shit. And I'm pretty sure it's from a legal standpoint because they don't want to be held responsible for violence that erupts on their forum.
Mm-hmm. Well, and also look at it from this perspective. You could if you look at just about any suicide case where that person was involved in social media or, got on 4chan or whatever the fuck, you could probably find where somebody told them to kill themselves, no matter how far back you go.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
You could find an example, and then what?
And I guess
is that person partially responsible for the end result of this person killing themselves?
I guess too, if you look at it, if this happened in reality, it would be a crime, right?
Well,
if that happened in person,
I think that's where we have to separate this, though, because I think the reason that this is getting a lot of traction, that this story is getting headlines, is not just about some little girl being manipulative with blonde hair. It's because of it's a technology thing. This is the first case where texting was so important to this, and
if she's standing on the sidewalk, he gets out, and she goes, "Get back in, pussy." That's a crime, right?
I don't know. That's kind of what I'm arguing, because it's not about the technology for me. I mean, I know that I'm extrapolating this to other digital media, not just texting, but social media and forums and whatnot. But it's not like this is a law that was written. This is one case that is almost assuredly going to be used in the future to set precedents for future cases. And it's just a question of how it's used. But yes, at the core of it, it's not about the fact that she texted it. I don't know. It's a stumper. Maybe I'll have to think on that one some more to figure out where I stand on it.
And it's somebody died. That's the thing.
Right.
That's what's going to stick with everybody.
Okay, but somebody who is depressed died, who was depressed and may have killed themselves regardless.
But I guess too, there's a what if in this situation that could result in him still living.
Well, certainly. Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. But
she could go,
I guess,
Jesus Christ, you actually tried to do it? All right, hold on. You obviously want to talk to me. I'll be right over.
I think in order to convict on this crime, though, you have to do an awful lot of supposing of the thoughts of the person who committed suicide, which you don't know. I mean, it certainly looks like from a series of text messages that the scenario went, he got in the car, tried to gas himself, chickened out, got out. She told her, she texted back, get back in the car and kill yourself, and he did. But who knows what was really going on in the mind of an individual that was depressed enough to take their own life, to consider taking their own life in the first place.
See, to me, this almost falls.
Regardless of what she texted, maybe he would have done it anyway.
To me, this almost falls under like a half-assed Good Samaritan law. Because she didn't physically cause his death, so she can't charge her with murder. But it's not really manslaughter. Right. It's not like, she inadvertently caused his death. So it's kind of like...
If she wanted him to die.
Well, it's all about the maybe that she could have stopped it, I think.
See?
That's probably why she's doing 15 months.
But that's what I'm arguing against. Maybe, it seemed from her end or our vision of the text messages that this was... he maybe did or did not want to do it, and she pushed him over the edge, or maybe he was going to do it no matter what. It could have just as easily been, regardless of how this played out, he was going to end up dead at the end of the night.
Well, I guarantee you there's one thing that she's learned from all this, that she ain't going to fucking play around like that on fucking a text messaging when she gets out of prison. I guarantee that. And I mean...
yeah, but...
The problem is that you add teenagers and text messages, because apparently I'm so good, and this is another thing I'm glad that smartphones and shit weren't around when I was a kid. Apparently the best way to bully kids these days is through text messaging, direct messages, etc., etc. I mean, if you're going to argue with, arguing on a comment section seems to be like for strangers. If you know the person, you just get their phone number and then send them fucking harassing text until they snap.
Yeah, but if you're talking about bullying, I mean, there's just as many instances of people who know each other bullying each other on social media. And I was kind of trying to take it to somewhat logical extremes by using examples of people on 4chan daily saying "kill yourself."
That's almost a greeting on 4chan.
Right.
That's like calling someone a faggot on 4chan.
I think this equally applies. Like, if you have, let's say you have a group of kids who all go to high school together, they all decide that one person's messed up, and they all pile on her, and there's all these direct messages through social media of kill yourself, and that person eventually kills themselves. Who do you charge? No one? Everyone? I don't know. I mean, I guess all I can really say about this individual case is that it seems like justice. It feels like justice because she said some disgusting things. But
hey, kids,
I the idea of jailing people for saying some disgusting things, like, you've got to have some rock hard reasons for that. Otherwise,
well, isn't a cold body a pretty rock hard reason?
That's. Again, I mean, he could have ended up dead regardless of what she said. Maybe she could have. It's within the realm of possibility that she could have done nothing or said, "Please don't kill yourself," and he still would have done it.
But I mean, if she says, "Don't do it," she doesn't. This never goes to trial.
Okay, look. What if, in this person's mind, this poor unfortunate being who took his own life, he was going to do it, and he said, "You know what? I'm not going to do this without at least getting some personal satisfaction from my girlfriend, who's a real B, and she's going to be sorry. And before I kill myself, I'm going to call her and tell her what I'm up to, and then she's going to beg me, and I'm going to do it anyways to spite her because she's a fucking bitch." And then she turns around and is like, "I don't give a fuck, kill yourself."
Hence, proving him right. She's a bitch.
I know, right?
Right. So is she at fault? If it plays out the way that I just said, is she at fault?
If being a bitch is now a crime, we're going to have a lot less women in the world here sometime soon.
It's not... It feels like justice, but where the crime is exactly, where it exactly lives, is not clear. And even the judge the judge handing out the sentence was shaming her and hoping that this was a lesson to the way that we conduct ourselves with other people. And I'm like, no, this isn't about conduct. Like, you find reasonable a reasonable guilt of reasonable evidence of guilt in somebody's death, or you don't. I really think it sounds like we really want to send her to jail for being a bitch.
I think her 15 months is you could have done something. Even if it's typing back, don't do it.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And it's interesting, though, but there was a similar case not that long ago. I don't know if you guys read about this one in the news. There was a drowning man, and I forget where this was. The drowning man calling out for help, and a group of teenagers come by and hear him and see him, and one of them whips out their phone, records the guy. The rest of them are like, "Fucking drown already," and calling him names and shit.
Yeah, you should go to jail.
And watched him die. They couldn't. They found the teens that were there. They couldn't charge them with anything. There was no law that says that you have to help somebody who is in imminent danger.
Well, there are in certain cities, areas, states.
Yes. No, yeah, that's a fair point. It was just in this particular city. They had no law to charge them with.
But I think, man, that's shitty to me. I mean, I think you should at least call 911. Hey, there's a guy drowning.
Right.
To me, that just seems being a shitty human being.
Like, we can't judge these things just based on a case-by-case basis. That is not justice. Justice is not done on a case-by-case basis. It's done across the board. So, what if this was one guy drowning and one kid walking by, and
To me,
he didn't want to go in there because he didn't know who the fuck that guy was. And maybe that guy can swim, and he's waiting for me to go try and save his ass so he can drown me instead. And instead, I'm going to go home and tell my parents about it, by which time the guy dies, and then I'm found responsible?
But that's a much different, that's a much different scenario than standing around videotaping it and cheering, like, hey, drown, buddy, drown. To me, maybe that's the crime.
No, but okay, so what do you make the crime then? You make it illegal to film somebody while they're dying?
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you do with journalists? The laws aren't made that particular because they can't be. Again, it's not a case-by-case basis. We don't like people who film fucked up shit and do nothing, so let's pass a law that puts all those people behind bars. For whatever fucked up situation they were involved in filming, instead of putting the phone down and helping out, they get to go to jail. So now everybody who's filmed a riot, everybody who's filmed police brutality, everybody who's filmed an accident, anything.
But not a journalist. Maybe.
Okay, so make a journalistic exception. Well, then you're leaving anyone. Look, okay. Where does it stop? You post a video on Facebook and there's a plane crash in the background that you don't even see at first. Oh my God, there's people that died on here, and what did you do? You didn't even call the cops.
But that's the reason we have extenuating circumstances that exclude you from getting charged with a crime. Or, excuse me, you may be charged, but the charges will ultimately be dropped. I mean, case in point, if you get into a fight, even if it's self-defense, the cops show up, everybody's going to jail. Now, once you can prove that you were only fighting in self-defense and trying to stop the person from harming you and get away from them, chances are the charges are going to be dropped against you, and the other person's going to have to fucking deal with the charges. I mean,
but we are talking about situations where we're not catching it as it happens. You know, if the police were there, they wouldn't be harassing the kids with the phone. They'd be saving the drowning guy.
Oh, exactly. And I guess to me is there's that built-in safety valve, if you want to call it that, and then there's also the judge has, when it comes to sentencing, that's where what they believe they can. Okay, right. Case in point, there was a 20-year-old guy just recently who met a girl online. This girl fucking sent pictures of her of a forged ID, said she was 18, blah 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 blah. They fucked. Turns out she's 16. He got charged with stat rape. He got convicted, and the judge was like, I'm not sending you to prison. I'm not doing it. I'm not fucking the rest of your life up over this. You did everything you could do. You actually asked her for an ID. I have everything here that shows she lied to you. That to me is, once again, another safety valve. That's up to the judge's discretion. Now, that sucks because if you get a fucking judge who just don't want to hear it and you get yourself a hanging judge, you're fucked. But I mean, that's the case in anything. I've walked into traffic court and seen people get fucked over and get the maximum thrown at them, and I'm like, this judge did not get pussy the night before? What's wrong with this judge? Right. I mean, this judge is pissed, you know? So, I mean...
It's my birthday, she promised.
There's a lot of things that, even if they charge those kids, that a lawyer could say in court. One, none of them know how to save a drowning person.
Or swim.
And on top of that, if you've ever had any type of water safety training, the biggest problem with trying to save a drowning person is that they will, through pure panic, inadvertently try to drown you. Because they're clawing at everything and you're getting pulled under with them.
Right.
I mean, I've actually, you know, I've taken quite a few water safety courses and stuff, and even when it's a situation where the person is pretending to drown, it can get fucking hairy, you know. And it's, you know, even if it's like, okay, hold on, safe word, whatever the fuck, and they stop, in a real situation, yeah, it could be scary as fuck. I mean, that's all a lawyer has to do. The lawyer doesn't have to prove that. I mean, that's what we talk about when we talk about beyond a shadow or beyond reasonable doubt.
Yeah.
All they have to do is provide reasonable doubt. Once you plant that seed of doubt, if it takes hold and it grows roots, boom. You know, depending on the jury, you're not convicted.
Right, and that's why in a lot, especially extreme cases like murder and whatnot, you have to get the whole jury to convict you. It only takes one holdout with doubt to not convict.
Exactly, yeah.
No, I understand. You know,
the dick move. The dick move is that I didn't see the video. I heard the uncut audio, and those kids.
Of the drowning.
Yes.
Okay.
And they live streamed it.
Right.
I mean, it was being streamed live as it was happening, and those kids, all of them, need their nuts cut off and be sterilized. We need to pour a whole lot of bleach in their end of the gene pool, because those were fucking scumbag pieces of shit. They were laughing, giggling, hurry up and drown, hurry up and drown. Why don't you just die already? All right. None of them had any compassion. None of them had any empathy for the situation. Mm-hmm. None of them even said, hey, why don't we call 911?
Yeah. To me, that's the crime.
Right. You know, so, look, there is no crime, though. They can't charge them with anything. There's no crime to charge them with.
Now, if there was a good Samaritan law in that area, then they'd have been fucked.
Well,
because if there was a good Samaritan law, that's pretty much a clear-cut, open-shut case, because they provided all the evidence themselves.
Yeah.
By live streaming.
Absolutely. Now, if they were convicted of something, it would feel like justice that these people be punished in some way because they were behaving horribly. But what behavior are we policing? I mean, it's kind of a difference between what we wish and what we can actually police. We would hope that people would just have some semblance of respect for all human life and would do something in that situation. But to expect that and to enforce that by law is a whole different story.
Yeah, being a horrible human being is not against the law.
Right.
As our president keeps showing.
Right. I mean,
being a dick isn't a crime.
So I don't even know how I necessarily feel about Good Samaritan laws. I'm kind of iffy on that concept as well.
To me, it's well intentioned, but with a whole lot of ability to be abused.
Right.
Yeah, people from Seinfeld went to jail. That's bullshit.
That's what the whole finale of Seinfeld was about.
Well, right. I mean, what happens in the case of a car wreck? Who out of all the people on the freeway do you decide to charge in that situation if nobody pulls over to help somebody?
Hey, I saw a car flip over 6 times last year. I didn't stop, but I called 911. Shit was crazy. Did it sideways. It did it sideways. It went off the road and then flipped sideways like 5 times, landed on the wheels.
Yeah, I saw in 95, I saw a guy get his arm ripped off in a rollover accident on 275, hitting the turnaround, and he misjudged, and the guy hit him, and he went flying, and the truck went one way, and his arm went the other, and I was heading the other way on 275, and I was just in, I don't know if perfect's the right word, position to see it, and by the time I went to go pull over, remember, this is 95. So I mean, this is 22 years ago. It's not like I had cell phones. Yeah, right. I didn't have one slung over my shoulder, you know. So, but by the time I hit my brake lights and went to go pull over, and you remember it's on the other side of 275 on the other side, there were already 5-6 cars stopping. So I was like, well, there's nothing I can do for that situation. I don't know. I mean, I'd turn the kid off the stump, try to stop the bleeding. That's about the best I could do. And if there's 5-6 people pulling over, they probably know that too.
I'd like to hear my 911 call. Because I was just like, I was like, there's someone's got to be hurt. I was like, I'd tell them, I'm like, man, I was like, here's where I am. I'm on like, I forget, I was like on 84 or something in Oregon. I'm like, I'm heading whatever. Car flipped over 6 times. Someone has to be hurt. I didn't stop, but it was just like, oh, wow.
If he ain't fucked up, he ain't happy.
Yeah. Whoever's in that car is hurt. Because it like bounced off the roof and then flipped back over for its final. I was like, oh, Jesus.
But to speak to your point, Aaron, there's people I know who, in conversations, you know how you're at a party, you're drinking, whatever, and hypothetical conversations come up. And, you know, if you saw an accident, would you stop and help that person? I've had people say, fuck no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't even fucking touch him. I'd call 911 and that's it. Because if I move them and it hurts them worse, then I'm getting fucking sued.
No, yeah. I'm not
going to put myself in that position. I mean, so those might be 2 extreme situations.
Right. I mean, what if the result from enforcing a Good Samaritan law means that people that are in the vicinity of an accident or something where they can help somebody, it makes them, instead of going, well, I better go try and help that person or else they'll charge me with a crime, they say, I better get the fuck out of here before I get charged with a crime.
Another tactic from the hood.
Yeah.
Oh, shit, cops are coming. I got warrants.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. And I had my truck stolen in broad daylight twice in Wixom out of a parking lot where people were standing around and no one saw nothing. You know, no one wants to get involved with the police. No one wants to get involved in some shit that doesn't involve them.
Well, I think I have told you this story before, but I used to take the bus a lot when I lived in Detroit. And I used to work in Dearborn, and I would take the bus down. I would take it down Woodward and then catch the Michigan Avenue bus. So I was right there at what is now a big roundabout in that part of the city, but at the time was where the basically a central depot for all of Detroit, for all the buses were. It was. And that's also where I got mugged once and I got soft mugged. Which is
soft mugged? Like they didn't get anything?
A soft mug is, no, he got shit, but he didn't have to like threaten me for it. It was just like, let me see your Walkman, or this could go a different way. But he was nice about it too. He was like, what are you listening to? I was like, I don't want to give you my Walkman. And I'm thinking that. And he's just like, points out the fact that, he's got all of his buddies there with him. I was mugged by words that made me understand that I would get my ass beat if I didn't give up my Walkman.
That kind of happened on
Give me your
Ballers.
shoes.
No, that kind of happened on Ballers this last week. The guy was like,
yeah, I just watched that at lunch. He's like, let me see your phone.
Yeah, let me borrow your phone. He's like, man, come on, man.
Dude, that shit was awesome.
Hey, let me hold $20.
Yeah, it was the same shit. He said, hey, you got $5, any gas money, and that's how it starts. Like that's exactly the situation that I was describing, actually. Only the guy didn't pull up in a car, and he didn't have to pull a gun on me. But let me set the scene for you, though. Because describing, I know that situation seems kind of odd, that I would just roll over for this guy, but earlier I had seen, not that day, but I don't know, maybe weeks before, but I had seen 2 teenage kids that were fucking with a homeless man that was waiting for the bus. They were all waiting for the bus. And they were just kind of pushing him around and shit and laughing at him, making fun of him. And then one of them picks up a empty 40 ounce and smashes it over the guy's head and leaves him laying on the ground, bleeding everywhere. Now, there must be at least 30, 40 people all on that side of the street waiting for some bus or another, including myself, and nobody did shit. Maybe somebody clucked and said, oh, well, that's just too bad. Why do people have to be like that? but nobody did shit to help that guy. So did I think if I stood up for myself and said, "No, sir, you're not taking my Walkman," that anybody was going to go, "Leave that white boy alone"?
Nope. I mean, hey, look at that white boy's about to get his Walkman stolen and get his ass whooped.
Right. If it were now, they had their phones out recording me.
He could have just lost his Walkman. Now he's getting an ass whooping.
Yeah.
You might have someone come over as you're bleeding and go, "You got heart, white boy," and just keep walking. That'd be about it. No, I've seen situations like that. I've seen situations like that in fucking high school, man. I mean, we're old enough to remember the starter craze, starter jackets, starter hats, whatever. You know, someone will walk up, "Hey, man, that's a nice jacket. Why don't you let me try that on?" You know, and it's some nerdy white kid whose grandma got it for him for Christmas, and he's like, "Okay," and he puts it on. And he's like,
"Right,
hey, thanks, appreciate that," and walks off. And it's like, well,
right.
What are you gonna do?
Or they just do they just hang out with them until they're like, I need my jacket back now. No, no, I don't think so.
That's my jacket now.
Yeah.
But no, I totally understand that situation. It's one of the things when you're like, all right, I'm gonna feel like a bitch when this is all over and done with, but I'm gonna be a bitch with a full set of teeth.
Yeah.
So you know,
yeah, just buy a new Walkman.
So you understand the gray areas that we get into. Essentially, this case with this girl and the texting it's basically being prosecuted on a Good Samaritan law. I know that's not exactly what she's charged with, but I don't know.
It's one of those things where if quote unquote justice prevails, it may feel right, but on some level, it's like, really, 15 months for telling someone to kill themselves? I mean,
right.
And it's not like they were there. It's not like she was in the room letting it happen. She just fucking texted it to him.
Maybe this part of this is me being a father of young kids who have phones and computers and all that shit. And again, I mean, could easily find themselves in this situation even if they didn't mean to be a complete dick. Or maybe one of my kids a complete dick. Do I want one of my kids to go to jail because he's a complete dick? No. I said he like it's going to be the boy, but honestly, it's probably more likely the girl.
Dude, I knew it. I was like, I love how automatically it's your son. It's like, my daughter.
No,
precious.
If anybody's saying some shit online, it's probably my daughter.
Well, of course.
My son would be like, I don't give a fuck.
That's what I've always tried to point out. Like, if people are like, "Oh yeah, you know, boys are so mean to each other," it's like, yeah, you ever been in a room full of teenage girls
in middle school?
Yeah.
Boys are mean to each other one day, and the next day it's like nothing happened.
Pretty much. There was guys that I got into fights with, and I spent the rest of the time at school, and I never fucking talked to again. I've seen chicks terrorize other fucking chicks for fucking months and months.
Yeah, it's like
one grade to the next. Even
in middle school, they've learned they got claws, and they just use them all at once. You know, they don't realize. You know, as they get older, they realize to only bring them out at certain times. When they first get them, they're just everywhere.
Well, it goes back to that. They feel protected. I'm a girl. You ain't gonna do shit. Girls don't get into fights. That's what stupid guys do, and they feel protected. I mean, and then you run into someone like my older sister who was fucking psychotic, and she just beat the shit out of them. The chicks, and they were like, "Hey, we're gonna leave Brenda alone." That bitch is crazy, you know. I mean,
that bitch will punch you.
Literally, yeah. You know, I think my sister got suspended more for fighting in school than I did. And that's saying something. So, but yeah, I definitely, man. Anytime one of my friends, when we were younger, would go, "Oh yeah, you know, me and the wife, you know, she's pregnant." I'm like, "Oh boy, do you know what it is?" "Yeah, it's a girl." I'm like, "Oh, you're in for it now." "What do you mean?" "From what I hear, girls are easier than boys." I'm like, "Whoever told you that lied." I don't know. Boys pretty much, here's the problem you have with boys. They don't want to go to school. For a while, they don't realize that if they don't put deodorant on, they stink. Yeah. And you have to explain to them, like social etiquette, because at a certain point they still think the playground rules is what's going to happen when they grow up, and it doesn't work that way. Girls are much more multi-layered than that and multifaceted.
Adam Carolla has two twins. He's got a boy and a girl, and he says that the girl is like having two kids and the boy is like raising one old cat.
Kind of. I mean, yeah.
There is no justice because my sister got two boys. Now she's getting a daughter by proxy for her new husband, but still.
I have a friend. I just saw him this last weekend at a birthday party get together, and he has 6 daughters.
Oh my god!
And I'm just like, Mike, I don't know how you're not crazy right now. Seriously. And he's just like,
I had a history teacher.
I don't know how you have 6 daughters and not go to jail eventually.
I had a history teacher in high school, and he had 4 daughters. So suffice it to say, in school, he had quite the chauvinist attitude. Because when he went home, none of that shit was happening.
Yeah.
Oh. So what's next? Shall we spin the wheel of news?
Well, speaking of horrible accidents, that Dark Tower movie came out to horrible reviews, I heard. I saw it, and I know that I could go and find previews and advertisements for it online and watch them, but I just didn't. I saw an ad for the movie on Hulu today. That was the first one that I saw. I'm like, really? This shit's out tomorrow? And it's not like I don't watch TV and shit, and I'm watching all these superhero shows and shit. Why are they not... they must know that this thing was like... something was wrong with it. All the commercial was Idris Elba jumping out of things while shooting guns, and Matthew McConaughey smirking.
If a movie sucks, you're either gonna be sick of the preview, or you're never gonna see one.
You could have made that preview for the Dark Tower movie by splicing together old movies that Idris Elba and Matthew McConaughey starred in, I believe. They just digitally put him in a black trench coat.
Man, I don't know. I would almost pay more money to see them try to splice Stringer Bell into the Gunslinger.
Gunstringer Bell.
Y'all motherfuckers giving me way too many 40-degree days. I'd rather see that almost than the shit I've seen. Dude, okay, so I've made no bones about it on the show. That was a series I was obsessed with for like almost 20 years.
Yeah.
Et cetera, et cetera. Apparently the screeners, the previews, and for critics and stuff came out last night, and I just started watching review after review roll in. And the one thing to me that's going to kill this movie is that critics were like, I've never read a Stephen King book. I have no idea about the lore for the Dark Tower.
Yeah.
I saw that movie. I have no idea what the fuck is going on. And it's just exposition through the whole fucking movie trying to explain it. And it still doesn't do a good job of it. And it's like, that is the one thing about that series that makes it so unique and so interesting is the lore. And it's like they just chopped it all out. And I'm going, then that movie's doomed. Because the hardcore fans are pretty much like, man, fuck that movie. It's not an adaptation of the books. It's a continuation of the books. But yet they're trying to cram storylines from 3 books into one 95-minute movie. And on top of it, they've taken out main characters. They've changed main characters. The focus isn't the gunslinger. The focus is Jake. So for a minute, they were going to turn it into, try to turn it into a Twilight type movie, something for younger people, which with the PG-13, with the PG-13 rating that they cut the movie so they got instead of the R rating, tells me that they're still trying to do that.
Yeah.
apparently Matthew McConaughey playing the Dark Man is all powerful and can just walk past people and say stop breathing, and they stop breathing and die, but yet he still has minions doing his bidding for some reason. Like, there's plot holes all through the fucking thing, and I'm just going, well, I still have the books. That's all I can say, man. Like, I honestly
can't take that away from you.
I was honestly going to go see it at 7 o'clock tonight, and just the reviews from last night, the reviews that I continued to see today, I was like, I can't rationalize paying $10-12 to go see that movie.
Right.
Either I'll wait for it to come out on Netflix or something, or I'll wait for like the $4 Sunday matinee go before noon or something. Because it's just, it seems like I'm going to walk in there and be disappointed. And here's the bitch of it. I know that everyone loves Spider-Man Homecoming. I turned it off halfway through. I did not give a single fuck about any of those characters in that movie. I did not care about... I cared more about Spider-Man and Civil War than I did about him and his own movie.
No, I hear you. I saw it finally, and I really enjoyed it because it was a fun movie. But it still pales in comparison to the second Sam Raimi film. It just does.
Exactly.
And that had heart, even from the villain. I mean, you had some sympathy for what the villain was doing. Look, Michael Keaton's great. I love Michael Keaton in anything, and I thought he made a good Vulture, but he wasn't written in a way like this idea that he was doing all this like, just for his family or something was ridiculous. I mean, he was just greedy and violent. He had no real motivation to him. And yeah, I don't know. I agree with you. It was so devoid in character development.
Thank you. And I don't know if this is just me getting older, or me having less patience, or I've seen it before, so it's kind of like passé, whatever. Or if this is because I'm now spoiled by shows like The Sopranos and The Wire and Breaking Bad and Game of Thrones, to where they can develop characters that you actually give a fuck about.
Well, I thought that Guardians of the Galaxy is kind of a similar movie, only they did do, as much as a lot of it was ham-fisted, they did a lot of character development. Everyone's story in there got to advance. And you have less moving pieces in the Spider-Man story and still can't even manage to push your main character forward. Like, what did he learn at the end of all that shit? What did he learn? That he was good enough to wear the spider suit? What the fuck does that mean? He didn't learn anything about himself. There was no major
You learned you wanted to fuck Aunt May.
The pure major conflict was, here's a guy who thinks money is king and doesn't care about human lives, and here's another guy who apparently does because he's good.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. If I'm a Sony executive right now, I'm shitting my pants. Because I don't know if it's, I mean, I've been reading articles not necessarily about the Dark Tower and the last King Arthur movie that came out and the Mummy movie that came out, but it's just about how they're predicting, like, we got blockbuster fatigue. There's no movies out there that are getting attention that suck you in. You go for it, their event. Everything's an event. They want everything to be an event movie.
Well, right. I think part of their problem is that not only are they setting themselves up for, well, this movie has to lead to this movie, which leads to that movie, but there's so much talk about this that we hear about all these franchises while they're in development. So we get to hear 2 years of the Dark Tower universe and what it's going to look like. And after those 2 years, we see the first movie and it sucks, apparently.
And it's exactly.
I hate to think that like we have to go back to the old ways of making movies, but let's just make one really good movie or try and make the best movie we can and put that out. And if people like it, it will naturally lead to, well, then we could do this and this and that, and people will go see that too. But if you pump everybody up for a monster universe and The Mummy sucks ass like every other Mummy movie has, because it was essentially every other Mummy movie, then you've just shot yourself in the foot, not only for that one movie, but all this time you spent putting together a plan and telling everybody about all the other movies that you were going to make. So now what do? You're forced to make those movies because you want to see it through, or you think you can still make some money off of it? Or just scrap the whole thing?
Well, yeah, and another problem is I think people are getting really tired of races getting changed and of characters in Hollywood. And when someone brings up like, well, hey, wait a minute, how are you going to do that? Because the race of this character is integral to the story. And here's proof. I can literally read you quotes from the book that prove that. And the people that are making the movie go, shut up and stop being racist. And it's like, okay, look, man, it's a valid question. I mean, here's the easiest way to explain why the gunslinger is white in the books and he's black in the movie. The story is a cycle, and every time Roland, the gunslinger, goes through the story, it's like the next universe over. So all you got to say is that in this universe, he's black, and boom, all the fans would have fucking... I mean, eventually that's what they did come out and say. But it was a Hail Mary at the end after fucking, a year and a half of them going, why the fuck is someone who's pointed out constantly to be white in the book, now all of a sudden a black person, and we're told it doesn't matter. It does matter. You're changing the story up, and for what reason? That's all they had. All they had to do was throw that out there at the beginning, and most of the fans would have went with it. It's the same thing with the Fantastic Four movie, where you have Sue Storm and Johnny Storm, and it's like the reporter said, okay, so you guys play brother and sister in the movie. How does that happen that you two are of different races? And the actors go, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Why are you fucking... One of us is adopted. That's all you got to fucking say. People will go with it. Don't act don't act offended that we asked a fucking question because we have the ability to see. I mean, wasn't that like a running joke in the Jeffersons that the interracial couple next door had a white son and a black daughter, and people were like, that's not how that works. People don't come out pure white and pure black from parents of separate races. I mean, it's like we could deal with that in the 70s, and we can't deal with that now. And Sony is...
They tried that on Parenthood. End of one season, they had a white baby. Next season was a black baby.
I mean, Sony has been pushing this whole, the female Ghostbusters. Why does it matter they're female? Okay, well, that's not the way to get people that are fucking fans of the original franchise to come in and see the shit. And to attack people that you want to see the movie doesn't make any sense whatsoever. That's just bad business.
And although
at least try and give them a story, like they're female because, I don't know, make some shit up.
Well, too, and what killed that movie, I know I said I liked it, but what killed it with the hardcore fans is they completely ignored the previous universe. Like, yeah,
they made it seem like there were never any Ghostbusters. These are the first Ghostbusters.
Yeah, there was no Peter Venkman, Ray Stantz, Egon Spengler. Just, nope, we're not even going to... You completely blew up the universe. We're going to make our own universe. Why can't they be like, we were admirers of your work, we're college kids, or some shit like that? Like,
that
could have saved it. Acknowledge the original story. That could have saved that movie.
One's a college professor and runs across fucking one of the original Ghostbusters writings.
Yeah.
And it inspires them to go into paranormal research themselves.
Or they remember that shit from when they were a kid. They remember all the shit that happened at Central Park West.
Oh, the best thing would have been...
Or they get together because they all slept with Bill Murray's character.
Yeah. Either way.
Well, no, but think about it. This would have been strictly for the nerdy people, and it'd have been a nod to the old movies. All one of them had to. Remember in Ghostbusters 2, they were going to kids' birthday parties. Make one of the female Ghostbusters the kids that were at the birthday party.
You're fucking Egon's niece, something like that was my big bugaboo with that. Acknowledge the original universe.
I mean, my problem is that we're told that we have to look at everything through the prism of race these days.
Yeah, we are.
Not really everything. Don't question some things.
Have you heard of the latest controversy on the casting of Domino in Deadpool 2?
No.
Okay, so are you familiar with the character? I know that you've read X-Men, but that's like 90s X-Men.
Yeah, that's where I know that character from.
Yeah, so Domino in the comics she's not just like white, she is pure white. Like her skin is bone white, and she's got like a little black spot around one eye, around her left eye. And she's got, really dark hair. Her whole thing is it's just kind of like a female long shot. It's all luck based.
I was going to say, that's what I remember about that character.
Right, she's just extremely unlucky. Every time she takes like some crazy shot, it just happens to ricochet off the right thing and hit the guy in the back of the head or something like that, And so they cast Domino for the second Deadpool movie, and it's a black chick, and she's got a white spot around her left eye. And I just don't understand why. I mean, it's not. I'm not saying like this character had to be cast by a white, but it could have been cast by any fucking race. Just paint them fucking white and give them a black patch on their eye.
Exactly. Because Zoe Saldano's in green, in painted green in fucking Guardians of the Galaxy.
Right. But they went full on, because if you see the pictures, which the actor that's playing Domino is amazingly hot. I mean, if it was just like, here's some crazy superhero chick, I'd be like, great casting. She looks amazing. But she's got a huge afro, which, again, Domino was very sleek. She's always usually had like a very fierce straight cut bob. And I don't understand. It's like they just said, well, it can be anyone. So why can't Domino be a black chick with an afro? Okay. Well, why can't it be a 400-pound, 40-year-old man?
Why can't Spawn be a white guy?
Oh, the Spawn thing was interesting. The idea of casting Leonardo DiCaprio was not as Spawn, but as Twitch. Yeah.
I posted it, and a buddy of mine was like, "No, he's not talking about him as Spawn. It's Twitch." And I'm like, "Twitch? That's a minor character."
Right, but the movie would be using Twitch as the main character, and Spawn would just come in every once in a while like Jaws and fuck shit up. So, still, nobody would go see that movie.
Now, here's the thing. I posted that, and most of my friends that commented on it, white or black, came in and were like, what the fuck? Spawn is Al. Al is black. Okay? Stop, Hollywood. Stop fucking with switching races for no fucking reason. And, I mean, these are the same people that were bitching about, how the fuck is Johnny and Sue brother and sister, and one's obviously black, and we're not even talking like biracial black, and the other's a pale redhead in a bad blonde wig. But I mean, so, and once again, it's something that I don't understand is these are comic book fans We will buy anything you sell us as long as you fucking sell it with some fucking with some, no matter how thin, some string of an explanation. Spider-Man is Latino in, what is it? Spider-Man Ultimate?
No, Miles Morales is mixed Latino and black.
Oh. But do you see what I'm saying? If they did an Ultimate Spider-Man movie, comic book fans wouldn't be like, "Oh, well, you better make sure he's cast as white." No, but if you're going to cast Peter Parker, you cast him as white. If it's what's his name, Morales in the comic book?
Yeah, Miles Morales.
Then you cast him as the race he was in the comic book.
Right, and you'll still have plenty of stupid racists that are like, "Oh, you got to make Spider-Man black now because they got to like black people." And you'll never convince those. But yes, you're absolutely right. There's got to be... It does matter. You can't say it just never matters. You've purposely changed the race of a character. It obviously matters. So, and if the only reason that you have is, well, we wanted to cast a black person because not enough black people get cast in superheroes. Okay, then fucking make... Well, I mean, they're already making Black Panther, but, it's not like there aren't black heroes out there. Make that movie.
Exactly. And
you want to see a black woman in Deadpool? Great. I want to see a new Storm. Let's try and make that happen.
Exactly. That's it. To me, the issue isn't swapping the race of a character. The issue is being told very condescendingly, don't question anything we do, because if you do, you're a racist. No, I'm an inquisitive human being who would like an explanation. I'm willing to go with the explanation. I mean, this is, when I heard they cast Idris Elba as Roland in The Dark Tower, the first thing I thought was, okay, then they're going to have an amazing explanation about how he's black in the movie, but he's white in the books. And I was waiting for it. And for, like I said, the first year and a half, there was none. And then all of a sudden, Sony released through tweets that, well, this is a continuation of the cycle. It's not the cycle that you read about in the books. And so, in this cycle, Roland's black. Okay. Like, once again, if you'd have said that a year and a half ago, you know how many original fans would have just been like, oh, okay, that makes sense, because things do change every time he goes through the cycle. He doesn't always have the same companions. He doesn't always even take the same path to the Dark Tower. That changes. So I mean, it's just, I'm getting to the point where I'm just tired of fucking race, period. I don't want to hear it from nobody, because everybody's a fucking hypocrite. Because the people I see in comment sections who are black or Latino or whatever the fuck, who are all about these fucking changes, the shit they post is, that's right, cry for me, will you white bitch, I want to drink your white tears. Okay, well, you're just as bad as some idiot with fucking shaved head and red suspenders talking about white power. You're mentally ill, and you're stupid on top of it. I don't know what to tell you. This is ridiculous.
Right.
This is the exact opposite of what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, but I'm a horrible person because I waited 25 years to see a comic book character come to life on the screen, and they look nothing like the original character. And I'm not a purist, like they have to exactly reproduce, Domino's costume from her first appearance in whatever comic book. But just if we get 10 years of Deadpool movies that run the gamut, then okay, let's fuck with it some. Let's make a black Deadpool and a midget Deadpool and a woman Deadpool and whatever Deadpool you want. But can we just make the Deadpool first, or whatever hero it may be? A Deadpool's a bad example because he was pretty accurate.
Well, okay, it's like the whole 007. Apparently for a while there was rumors that Idris Elba was going to be cast as the new 007.
Oh, he would have been a great one.
And here was the beauty of the explanation that almost every Bond fan went, Oh, okay. 007 is not a person. Is not a single person. 007 is a code name given to different agents.
Correct.
Over the years. That's how come you had Sean Connery, George Lazenby, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's how come Bond, Daniel Craig, doesn't have dark hair and look exactly, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's how they explained that. And the fans were like, cool, great.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's run with it.
Even the name James Bond, it's almost, I've always taken it more as like a Batman thing. Like, you create this myth, like, you can't kill James Bond. There's always going to be another one.
Yeah. And it wasn't, when they tried to reboot the whole Bourne series, isn't that basically what they did also? Or am I off on that? When they brought in Jeremy Renner?
Yeah, the Jeremy Renner Bourne film, which I really enjoyed, actually. It was certainly a lot better than the Jason Bourne movie. That I could not watch. But I don't know if they exactly went that route. I don't know. Maybe that was the intention and I just didn't get it.
Well, I know they did it with the Triple X franchise, because the first one or two of them was Vin Diesel, and then they switched over to Ice Cube.
Right.
So basically, it's an agent with that. That's his code name.
Man, you got fatter and blacker.
Right. I think you may be right, though, because, I mean, obviously Jason Bourne wasn't even the main character's name. It was a name given to him when he joined the program. So anybody could have entered the program and be given that name. Probably the same with James Bond.
And this kind of just goes right into another thing we were talking about before the show, with this proposed HBO series being executive produced by the guys who were the executive producers of Game of Thrones, which is an alternative history take on the Civil War, where the South won. And there's a demilitarized zone between the North and South, and they want to cover what would it be like in modern day America if the South had won.
And they immediately they're accused of being tasteless, having not produced anything to be judged yet.
Exactly. And
in advance.
They call it slavery fan fiction.
And exactly. It's exactly what I've heard. And then you hear people, it's racist. Really? Because they're just executive producers. The two writers that have come up with this idea, they're black. So what are they, Uncle Toms?
Hey, where were you in Man in the High Castle? Huh? Where are all the Jewish people going? Hey,
where were you in 2004 when Confederate States of America came out as a mockumentary about the exact same thing?
Right. But the funniest take on the whole issue with the HBO show, though, was a tweet that I saw that said it was the page one of the script for the first show, and it was I can't remember. They had some like white actor that they fictitiously casted as the lead, and he's going, "It's almost like we're the ones who are slaves," and then black actor enters scene nude. That's it.
Everything relating to Hollywood and television that has to do with race, it seems like we're going backwards.
Yeah, it seems like just race.
And this is my complaint with definitely the millennials and definitely the generation after them, generation validation, which is none of you want to be individuals. Everybody wants to be a part of a group, but only a part of some oppressed group they can fucking somehow get into. And then it becomes arguments between these groups of who's more oppressed than the others. And
help! I'm being repressed!
That is not equality. That is not equality.
It's the repression Olympics.
I mean, if you are going to have pecking orders and you are allowed freedom of speech and you are allowed to express ideas based on how low on the pecking order you are, and the higher up you are, the less the less room you're given to express yourself. That's exactly what the fuck. It's exactly what the fuck civil rights leaders were fighting against.
Yeah.
Does everybody? I mean, seriously, do they not teach kids like anything in history in school anymore? I mean, did they not fucking point out that it was Jews marching hand in hand with blacks in the South in the 50s and 60s? I mean, is that just glossed over? You know, and I'm sorry, ask an average black person, if a Jewish person's white, they're going to say yes.
Have they stopped showing the videos of people getting hit in the face with fire hoses or dogs sicked on them or being forcibly removed from a lunch counter?
I mean, I just don't understand it, and it's getting to the point where I don't care anymore. Unless you are a black person and you have a problem with me on a personal level and you come to me with that problem, I don't give a fuck what you got to say. Because I'm so tired of listening to one person claim to be talking for an entire group of people. And I'm really tired of one person trying to label another person on behalf of an entire group of people. I mean, I said this to a friend of mine.
Kind of like what's going on in Missouri?
I said this to a friend of mine. Apparently, their daughter made the announcement to them that she's going to speak on the behalf of people who have no voice. And that's, you know, minorities, gay people, et cetera, et cetera. And I said, it's a damn good thing I'm not a black gay woman, because I would tell her, sweetheart, I don't need you to say a goddamn motherfucking thing for me.
Right.
I'm more than capable of saying for myself, thank you. And fuck you for assuming that I'm too stupid to speak on my own behalf. To me, that's just as racist as someone coming out and saying, I don't want to live near no black people. To assume that a group of people can't express themselves. I mean, it's going to seem like I'm jumping subjects, but I'm really not. We are now living in a situation where a NFL quarterback took a knee during the national anthem to protest police violence against black people. And he can't get a job as an NFL quarterback because, one, I mean, it's multifaceted, but he's blacklisted. I mean, that's a major role of it. Teams are like, nope, sorry, we're not touching you. Because we put you on the roster and we watch the money fly away. We watch people stop fucking coming. And we're not doing it, sorry. And people are acting like, oh, he doesn't have a right to express himself. He expressed himself. Now he has to deal with the consequences of what he said. That's how free speech works. Free speech doesn't mean everybody has to agree with you and you are protected from the consequences of what you said. I mean, it's irritating, and it's to the point where like I said, I don't care anymore. I don't care. Every time I try to empathize and understand where someone's coming from, I get one or two people who will talk about the subject, will have an intelligent exchange, and I get 20 that jump on me. And I'm a racist, I'm a homophobe, and I'm a white straight male, so I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. And I was born with $1 million in my bank account and a fucking 800 credit score and all this other shit. And I'm just like, you know what? Fuck all you people. Seriously, fuck.
Dude, those white privilege checks come in handy every first of the month, I'll tell you that.
Well, you know, you said something a while ago, Chris, that no one ever points out to these people. Privilege is something that can be taken away from you.
Yeah. But I can't say that because I'm a straight white male.
It's gotten old. And now to the point where we can't even ask questions that anybody who has an inquisitive mind would want to know the answer to. I mean, I remember this. I had this conversation with a woman probably about 10 years ago, and she was talking about how she thinks it's great that, you know, these two gay men are together and they can, you know, express their love for each other and have sex with each other and not go to prison and blah 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 blah. But then when, you know, the subject of male on female butt fucking came up, it was disgusting. And I said, what the fuck is the difference? What the fuck do you think these guys are doing in the bedroom? Why is one disgusting and one is a beautiful thing? I mean, I wish I could pick and choose what I'm disgusted and what I think is beautiful like that, but I don't. It's what two people are doing in the privacy of their own fucking home. Who the fuck cares? Well, that's just a control thing. It's a control thing when a man fucks a woman in the ass. It's a power thing. Is it a power thing when a guy fucks another guy in the ass?
Sometimes.
Because I can introduce you to a lot of guys in prison that'll say it is.
I've heard the phrase power bottom.
But, oh no, that's different. They're expressing their love for each other. Get the fuck out of here. It's just ridiculous. It's nonsense. And
well, yeah, I mean, I personally think that all anal sex is gross, but that's just for me. Like, I don't participate in it anyway, but everybody else is fine to do whatever they want to.
Well, it's just it's the same if you're sitting there and you have a conversation with a chick and she goes, "Oh, it's nasty. I don't want cum on my face. Do you want cum on your face?" No, I'm not gay, but I'll get pussy juice all over it. I don't give a shit. Like I've said it before. If y'all could shoot some shit on our face, you'd do it, and we'd love it.
And there'd be a section of dudes that were into it.
Yes.
Oh, Rich, she did, and I did love it.
See, I mean, apparently. It was one of those nights that I was really bored, and so after I get the deed done, I went digging for some porn I'd never seen before. Apparently, there's a thing called reverse bukkake, and it's where chicks just squirt all over a guy's face. And I'm like, if this is a thing, this proves my point.
There's also the one with all the chicks pissing on the octopus. Seen that one?
No, I tend to stay away from the Japanese porn sites.
How did you know they were Japanese? I didn't say that.
Anytime there's
you have seen it.
Anytime there's some sort of tentacles involved, I just assume it's either anime or it's Japanese porn.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know if you guys feel this way, but I'm just tired. It's like that Game of Thrones article.
Yeah.
That person was like, first of all.
Oh, wait. What Game of Thrones article?
The whole. Hold on. I don't want to misquote it. The article I sent you guys in the group chat.
So there was like a message to Black America or something.
Oh, okay, that one.
Yeah,
last Sunday's Game of Thrones.
Right.
And I'm just like, that's what you're telling me, that this person sat down and watched Game of Thrones, and that's what they took from it? This person has a pathological obsession with race.
Well, but I don't remember the article, though. I'm sorry. Elaborate.
Well, they were trying.
They
drew. The author drew parallels between Khaleesi and white feminists who, even though they think they're an ally to black women and other marginalized people,
are just using them.
Yeah, they're using them because they have their white privilege still. Did you watch the episode? And
so I gotta confess, I got some of that off of it.
Well, I've always got to me, the whole thing is fucking, why the fuck are you fit to rule just because you're in the bloodline? To me, that's how I've always felt about. That's why I have a hard time with like fantasy stuff, like, oh, you're my son, so you're going to be the next king. Why? Just because you ejaculated him into a womb and 9 months later he popped out doesn't mean he's going to be the best candidate.
Well, right, actually, regardless of what happens in the rest of this series, in the season and a half that we have left, this was kind of the pinnacle of the whole series, this last episode, because we saw the first meeting between the Mother of Dragons and Jon Snow. And these are both claimed to be leaders through blood, because that's the only way that you can be considered in this world, but in very different ways. What's her name? Khaleesi. I forget it. Daenerys? Yes.
Yes, Dany's Daenerys. Or Daenerys.
Daenerys Targaryen.
Yes.
That's the name. Okay. So she claims through her bloodline, her father was the Mad King and who once ruled all of the Seven Kingdoms and blah, blah, blah. But she was cast out, had to... Basically, she had nobody's support on it except for when she found dragons. Let's face it, she wouldn't be here if it wasn't for dragons. But set aside the dragons, worked her way up to the station of power that she is now by her own will. These are her words that I'm mangling. Mm-hmm. Whereas Jon Snow, he may be considered for leadership because of his bloodline, but really he's a bastard, and really he's practically democratically elected. While they don't have such a thing, he got to his position through support of the people, not through his own sheer will. As a matter of fact, he was kind of elevated to his current station regardless of what his wishes were. He wasn't dead set on a mission to rule anything. Not the Seven Kingdoms, not even the one kingdom in the north. But he's being put in that position because he's found fit to be a leader by the people. So, anyway, the whole reason I wanted to get that out there is that's like the crux of not only that one episode, but the whole series. And I do kind of understand the author's point on the idea of essentially Daenerys Targaryen using a bunch of slaves that, yes, she freed, but are now going to throw themselves into war and kill and be killed because she thinks she's the best person in the world.
But she's the
only one that can come in and save them.
Where that falls apart is every fucking person vying for that Iron Throne does that. Jon Snow has the wildlings the people that take the oath and guard the wall. That's his people. What's her face? Cersei has her fucking army. I mean, that's the point of like a feudal system like that. There are the rulers and the ruled, and the ruled are owned by their rulers. They do what the fuck they're told. I mean, if you're going to look at...
That's a good point. I mean, even though Jon Snow seems like an honest man and he would be a good leader, if he said, I don't like the way that guy just looked at me, cut his head off, it would be done.
Exactly. And I mean, the author goes on to compare Jon Snow to like... I did find this amusing, I have to say. He goes, while it's true that he does dress a little Al Sharpton-ish, no one in the Seven Kingdoms can fuck with his collection of fur capes.
He was really sporting the wolves, man. Well, I'll tell you, I will say, just as a quick aside, the costuming on this season has been fantastic.
Well, he does also bring up a good point. He's like, did you see anyone dragging luggage when they hit the beach? Where did he get to change the fucking fur coats? But no, I mean, he goes on to compare Jon Snow to basically like a Black Lives Matter leader because he won't bend the knee to Daenerys. And it's like, okay, but then in the next breath you compare the wildlings to redneck white people. Okay, you're mixing your metaphors here. And then the real stretch is when he goes on to call Cersei the Trump of the show, as in Donald Trump. And I'm like, you realize the show was on and these books were written before Donald Trump even thought about being president, right? Like, you're reaching for connections and trying to draw connections between...
I don't think the connection was that the authors are writing this character to resemble Trump. I think it's more pointing out that we have an example of this type of leader leading this country at this moment.
See, I get that. It's just, I guess the whole thing of trying to maybe he just worded it improperly, or I misunderstood his wording. Well, but it seems like he was trying to draw a correlation there from the get-go, the beginning of the series, and I'm like, no.
I think Rich's point is, can't we just have Game of Thrones for the love of God?
I know, I agree with you on that, because I had to be reminded of the article, but I did read it, and I remember coming away with, well, I don't completely disagree with you, but I watch Game of Thrones, so I don't have to think about all that shit. And
Rich just wants an hour of peace on Sunday nights, goddammit.
And no matter how you lay it out, you're not going to make me feel guilty for watching medieval boobs. I mean, Game of Thrones.
Well, I mean, look, there is obviously subtext that run through the best art, and
yes,
I would say
we're a reflection of our own societies. Yeah,
we're living in pretty much the golden age of television right now, because I think TV is far surpassed Hollywood as far as putting out quality, especially like AMC, HBO, Showtime, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, like, one of the things that I loved about David Chase with The Sopranos is that last season of The Sopranos, he pointed out after the last episode aired, he said, here's what I was trying to prove with that episode. For 7 seasons, you watched Tony Soprano do every horrible fucking thing that he could think of. Beat on women, cheat on his wife, kill people, steal from people who have nothing, exploit poor people, exploit the system, etc., etc. And then the last couple episodes of the series, you're rooting for him to get his comeuppance. What kind of fucking hypocrites are you? He kind of fucking flipped the mirror around and shown it and put it in America's face. And I was like, exactly.
This guy did horrible shit, and you're all hoping that he doesn't get shot at the end.
Or worse, rooting for him to get shot now. But it's like, well, you've been rooting for him the entire time. He's been your hero. Now all of a sudden, because he killed Christopher, and I guess spoiler alert for a 10-year-old episode, but because he killed Christopher because he saw him as a liability, and he was considering clipping half of his fucking crew because he couldn't trust them. Now you see him for his true self. Now you want him fucking dead. He's always been this guy. This is the guy that killed his best friend, Pussy, in season 2 because he flipped on him. There was no fucking...
That's interesting.
I mean, this is from David Simon's mouth. I mean, this is...
No, I hear you. And it's funny because we didn't have, like, the massive social media and everything that we do now at the time. So... and there wasn't as much opinion about every television show either. So when I watched Sopranos, I watched it and I discussed it with my wife at the time, or somebody that I knew, Mm-hmm. I didn't read opinion pieces about it, or have go to websites where people would pick apart every episode. And when what you're describing, when in the last few episodes when he kills Christopher, who was like probably closer to him than anybody else that's in the movie, even his wife, I understood that as that was an inevitability. I mean, you clearly saw that everybody who got close to this man dies from season 1. I didn't forget about Big Pussy. I hated it when Big Pussy got capped, but I hated it just as much with Christopher, but it didn't change my opinion about Tony Soprano. I mean, there was still something about him. Certainly the mirror can be turned on me to say, like, look, no matter what this guy does, you're still going to apparently like him because he's so just charismatic. But he's a horrible person, Trump. But, I'll take that. But don't we just want to see that sometimes in movies? And
I think what David Simon did, though, was that
TV.
I got what you're saying. I think what David Simon did brilliantly was he made us fall in love with someone who, as a character, you could fall in love with, but if you knew him in day-to-day life, you would want nothing to do with this man. You'd cross the street to get away from him if he was walking towards you. Yeah. I mean, and on top of that, he was showing the hypocrite that Tony Soprano is, because through the whole fucking series, he's always talking about what happened to the strong silent type, the Gary Cooper type. But yet here he is crying in a fucking therapist office about his mommy issues, and every time he sees meat, he passes out from a panic attack.
Right, and family, till it gets in your way.
Exactly. You know, I mean, how many people... He killed Christopher, his nephew. He killed his own cousin, Tony. I mean, the list goes on and on. Honestly, during that last season, I was waiting for him to kill fucking his son. I mean, I was kind of like... Shit. And when he saw him drowning, I was like, is he going to leave him in the pool? You know, like, well, fuck it. You know, I've done everything I can with this kid. This kid's a pain in my ass. You know, but
yeah, no, I remember the episode when you thought, what's his name from the E Street Band was going to get capped.
Little Steven.
Yeah. I like how, I got to admit, for a non-actor who never acted before, he played that character just perfect.
He played a guy from New Jersey. What a stretch.
Right. Yeah.
I know, but here's the thing. Like, when he walked down in the basement and he just walks up to Tony and he's like, yeah, I stole from the construction site after you told me not to. Is it a hanging offense? Like, he just threw it out there like, am I dead? You know, and Tony's like, no, just don't do it again, asshole. Right. He's like, okay. Here's your cut, by the way.
Hey, you want to play... Some came up to us. Hey, you want to play a white guy from suburban Detroit? Sure.
I think I got a handle on that role. Yeah. but still, I mean, it was
put him up there with the likes of Eminem.
It was the fact that he was his concierge, and he was so matter of fact, even in the face of death. He was just like, I'm cold and I'm logical, and I got to do what has to be done. Like when he took out Adriana, I don't think he got any joy out of that. He just knew it had to be done.
No.
You know, every time he
didn't hesitate either.
No, and it's every time he had to deal with one of those crazy fucking strippers, and believe me, if you've been around that world, you know most of them are crazy. In the strip club, and he had to jerk a knot in her ass. I don't think he was taking some sick, like, misogynistic joy in it, like he was getting off on it. He was just, look, for me to make money and for you to make money, you have to do what I tell you to do, and you got to follow the rules. And if you step out of line, I'll jerk a knot in your ass and get you back on the straight and narrow.
Right. He was the only true businessman in that show.
Exactly. Which is why he was the perfect number 2 in that show. So, I mean, and once again, here it is. Subtext all through the show, you know. Yes, I get it that it's there in Game of Thrones. I just think that there's an obsession that's unhealthy with race in this country right now that is having the opposite effect of what the people who are obsessed with race are thinking it's having. Because
you're causing fatigue. You're causing you cause people like Rich and people like me to be like, I'm tired of it. Like, dude, I'm tired of race and Trump. I'm tired of those two things every day in your face.
I mean, I had a friend of mine say this, and I looked at him and I said, 2 years ago I'd have disagreed with you. Now I feel what he was saying. He's like, unless you're one of these people that are from a group that supposedly I'm offending, I don't want to hear your opinion on it. I mean, you could flap your fucking cockhole all you want, but I'm not going to listen to it. I'm going to turn around and walk away from you. Because I'm sorry, that's what I've been told. I don't have a right to speak on shit that I'm not personally involved with. Well, you have no personal connection to it, so you can shut the fuck up just as much as I can. And I kind of feel like that's one way to stop this nonsense. Because you pointed out a couple episodes ago, Aaron, it's a very tiny minority, but they're fucking so vocal. And they dictate the conversation to us, and we let them do it.
It's all this self-righteousness.
ESPN has been harping on the Colin Kaepernick story for going on a year now. And it's to the point where I'm like, stop posting articles every day. And I realize you don't follow sports, but it is literally almost every day, and I'm going to say literally every other day, that they post an article saying, why is Colin Kaepernick not signed? He's blacklisted. The owners don't want him. That's why he's not signed. Stop acting stupid, all right? That is why he does not have a job.
He comes with a whole bunch of press people don't want.
I mean, you know, he kneeled for the national anthem. That pissed people off. Then he fucking walked around during a warm-up with socks on that had pigs dressed up as police officers. That definitely pissed people off. And then after Castro died, he showed up at a fucking press conference wearing a Castro shirt, singing Castro's praises.
It talked about Castro had some good ideas.
Yeah. Well, you know, I don't know the ins and outs of the history. I know the inciting incident, but I don't know much beyond that. But it does kind of sound like a vegetarian protesting they can't get jobs in meat processing plants anymore. Like, look, you've decided your ideals were more important in your career. That's not a bad thing. But you can't obviously have the career you want with the ideals that you want. So,
man, if he'd have just knelt,
something else,
if he would have just knelt, he'd have been fine. But I think the last two things Rich talked about are what got him. If he would have just knelt the whole season, it'd have been seen as admirable. Here's a guy with principles. You don't see a guy with principles too often. But then he just got blatant about it. You know, he crossed a line.
The problem is the very people who support him constantly harp on they want a level playing field. But then when they get a level playing field, they're not happy with it. Because, yes, he had the team he was on was the San Francisco 49ers.
San Francisco.
Pretty much the most liberal team in the NFL. They had no problem with it. Never once did they go to him and say, you have to stop doing this, or we're going to cut you, or we're going to bench you. They let him express himself as much as he wanted. He had 1 year on his contract that it was his option to stay with the team, or he could nullify that contract and go be a free agent. He nullified the contract. Now the rest of the teams won't give him a job. That's on him. I'm sorry. You were in the perfect situation to express yourself. The team owner didn't. The team owner even came out in support of him. But do you think you're going to take that act to Houston, Texas, to Nashville, Tennessee, to Jacksonville, Florida?
Try doing that in Dallas.
I mean, you think you're going to walk around with cops dressed up as pigs on your socks and a Che Guevara fucking T-shirt, shitting all over fucking the American flag and talking about how America's a bunch of bullshit in those type of areas? I mean, at a certain point, look, he had the ability to speak out. He had the platform. He did. Once again, there's consequences for free speech. I know that this is really pushing. You probably don't. You might remember this guy. There was a pitcher named John Rocker who pitched for the Atlanta Braves. And they asked him when he was in New York of what he felt about New York, and he said, I hate it. You get on the subway next to some queer with AIDS.
I remember that.
Yeah. Asshole. Dude, he was a fucking huge asshole. He said what he had to say. Atlanta cut him, and he couldn't fucking get on with another team. He ended up playing like fucking some like beer league baseball somewhere for like $50 a game.
Right.
That's the consequences of your. You spoke what you wanted to. You said what you wanted to say. These are the consequences.
Yeah, you stuck to your principles, and the rest of the world found out your principles suck and didn't want anything to do with you.
And I mean, it's even to the point where, like, yeah, I understand why he knelt during the national anthem. I get it. I even understand why he wore the socks he did with pigs dressed up as cops. The whole Castro thing, that's just poor timing. All right. I mean,
it's not knowing your history either.
I mean, there's ways to say things that are factually correct without sounding like you're fucking co-signing on the ideas. I mean, you know, Volkswagen was born underneath Hitler's regime. Volkswagen makes good vehicles.
Right.
That's not an endorsement
of any Nazis.
But what I'm saying is that's not an endorsement of Hitler. That's just saying even a broken clock is right twice a day. All right. I mean, even the dumbest person can walk into a home run every once in a while. You know, so But he didn't take that route. He took a
the
very...
Nazis were evil, but we still took their scientists after we killed the rest.
Hell yeah, we did. Hey, build us some rockets.
Yeah.
We got to get to the moon before these Russians. And the scientists we didn't take, the Russians took.
Yep.
I mean...
and the rest created Hellboy.
But no, I mean, it's this attitude of that somehow he's entitled to a job that there's only, what, if each team carries 3 players, three quarterbacks, there's 69 of in the entire world.
Nice. I mean, how good is this guy?
Not very.
Okay. Well, there you go.
That's another.
You got to be pretty goddamn good to be bulletproof enough to say all the dumb shit you want, right?
Exactly.
If he's Tom Brady and he pulls this move, he's on a team this year.
Exactly. If he was an elite quarterback, one of the best, once again,
yeah.
And
if he got to the Super Bowl in pig socks, the whole team would be wearing them.
Exactly. It'd be a fashion statement. It'd be in the high schools.
So, I mean, it's, once again, we want a level playing field, but we want our side to be able to say what they want with no consequences. That's not a level playing field. That's not. And it's amazing to me that people like my brother, who a year or two ago actually was arguing against individual rights in favor of saving people's feelings and et cetera, has now been so exposed to the hypocrites on both sides that he finds himself kind of like floating around like a man without a country, because he's like, I used to support this side, but there's just as many fucking racists on this side as there is over here. They're the exact same thing. You just swap a couple words. I don't know what to do anymore. I don't know who to support. And when I talk to him, I go, welcome to my world. Welcome to the gray area. It's where most of us live. Very few of us think that everything is clear-cut black and white. And usually those of us that do are probably mentally ill on some level. More so than, I got to touch the doorknob 5 times.
Well, right. As much as I would like to believe that Trump is guilty of some collusion with Russia, and I follow the investigation, I read just as many people who are against Trump but saying outrageous things that they just know in their heart, that I'm like, you're just as bad and uninformed as these people who blindly follow him.
I think it's because not only do we have a problem with critical thinking anymore, because schools, let's be honest, I don't think schools have really ever been big on teaching critical thinking, at least public schools. And I think nowadays they're even more about indoctrination than anything. Maybe a little socialization thrown in there for good measure, so you become a good, worker bee when you get older. But criticism of any kind is seen as hating. You're a hater. You can't level a valid criticism at someone without someone going, oh, you're just a hater. And haters, fuck off. Haters' opinions aren't welcome here.
I was telling Chris about this one on the Weedsman the other day, but you know who Mark Bernardin is? He's a writer. He's a writer of fiction and scripts and stuff like that too, but he also writes for Entertainment Weekly. He co-hosts Fat Man and Batman with Kevin Smith.
Okay, yeah, I know who he is.
And he's been horribly critical, and rightfully so, I think, of the Iron Fist series from Netflix, and got to preview the first 3 episodes of the upcoming Defender series, and he said that it was 75% good, because all the shit involving Iron Fist was as bad as the Iron Fist TV show. And had some kid on his case equating his criticism, his dogged criticism of this one character, Iron Fist, was equivalent to a hate crime. And he had to correct him and say, no, a hate crime is when somebody throws a brick through your window with nigger written on it, or sets fire to a cross on your lawn.
Exactly. I can't even put that on the millennials. That's the generation after them. Generation validation, man. As long as they feel it and they think it, it's valid.
We need a war. Right. I'm telling you, we need a war.
One of my favorite all-time tweets was to the response of, it was a couple months ago, I think now, but there was unemployment was at a record low for the last 17 years or something like that. And this was somebody in support of Trump saying, look how good he's doing. Look at we've got record employment in this country, and gave out the number
set up by Barry Obama.
And right,
it's only 6 months in.
And another Trump supporter responds, I feel like it's even lower than that. Trump is doing a really good job. You're like, bitch, it's a fucking statistic. It's not about what you feel.
Dude.
You don't feel. That's your whole problem, is that you feel like Trump is doing well because you seek no empirical evidence, and you will never know. You will have to take the president's word at how good he's doing.
Controversial statement, and I'm going to make it. We need a war, another 9/11. We need something to remind us. We need something to calibrate us, because we are slowly disappearing up our own ass.
There was
we need something to threaten our way of life.
There's a YouTuber, I can't remember his name, DeFranco maybe, something like that. Anyways, he posted a video talking about how he feels he can trace back the exact moment that political correctness started getting out of hand in popular culture. And as popular culture goes, the rest of the culture in this country tends to go. At least in the last 100 years or so, maybe a little bit less.
Yeah.
And, excuse me, he went back to the episode of South Park where they wanted to show Muhammad. And Comedy Central censored him without telling them they were going to censor him. Even though they had already shown Muhammad in the Super Best Friends episodes that had aired years previous. But it was because it was at that point that the extremist Muslims were saying, we will kill people. And then they did. They killed a bunch of cartoonists over in... It wasn't the France thing. I think it was...
yeah, this was before Charlie Hebdo.
Yeah.
But definitely after... shit. Salman Rushdie.
Yes. And he said that's when the left pretty much threw in with the Muslims by saying, well, this is a religion of peace and this is a religion we're going to fight for. Because obviously we're not going to fight for Christians because Christians are oppressive and hateful and this and this and this. And that's where the intellectual dishonesty on the left really started. Because anybody who is a so-called progressive cannot look at these strict Muslim-run countries and think that's a progressive society. That's impossible. But then you hear excuses of, no, the women cover up because they want to.
Sure.
Really? So if they want to take all that off and walk around, there's no repercussions for that. They're not going to be charged with a crime. They're not going to be beat. They're not going to be, whatever.
Burkinis exist because it's a fashion choice.
Okay, and it's like you're not being honest. And once honesty was gone, then the floodgates could open because then facts didn't matter. Honesty and facts are tethered together, whereas feelings is my perception is my reality. Well, people's perceptions can be skewed. I mean,
can I ask you about this then? Because we found out this week, too, that another part of the Trump agenda is having the Justice Department, i.e. Jeff Sessions, go after discrimination in, what's the term? In acceptance policies, affirmative action and acceptance policies for colleges.
In other words,
I didn't ask you anything there, but how do you feel about that?
Well, from what I gathered, they're gonna try to go after colleges who would take people of a quote unquote minority race, gender, whatever, over like a white student. Is that right? Is that?
Yes.
The first word that comes to mind is nonsense. But then again, that's the first word that comes to mind when I think of what affirmative action has turned into. I think it was a program that had good intentions that is now. I don't know if its day is coming.
It's like unions.
A couple weeks ago. It's the overcorrect, the governmental overcorrect. Like we've really fucked up on this issue, so we want to push as far as possible to the other side to try and right the boat. But really, you just have a boat that's listing the other way.
Well, if you have a public university who's having so-called days without white people, and they're telling white students and faculty members not to come into university that day because
that was the biggest pile of bullshit ever.
It's a day for the minorities, I guess, a Vengeance Day or something. I don't know. I mean, I got a problem with a school that's a public school that's getting funding from the fucking federal level, state level, whatever, that pulls shit like that. If they're a private school, well, if you're privately funded, you can get away with a lot more shit. That's why Catholic schools, you're going to get a better education, but you're also going to learn a whole bunch of bullshit that ain't going to do you any good in the real world unless you go to seminary or something.
Hey, Day Without White People, did they close down all the buildings that were donated?
Right, but I guess, it's not for me, it's not about affirmative action or not. It's like, if I'm going to support the idea that a baker can decide on his own that he doesn't want to bake a cake for a gay couple, and he should be able to do that, then a school, a privately for-profit run school that is a business, should be able to accept whoever they want based on whoever they want, as long as they're not openly discriminating.
Hey, there's all boys schools, there's all girls schools. How come I can't go to Grambling?
I think it's another case of Trump trying to draw attention to a problem that really doesn't exist. I
think that's right. I think that you're exactly right.
Let's be honest here. How many white people have a problem with not getting into Yale if they have the grades and the money? I mean, in fact, I hate to say this, but because it's going to make me sound like, in certain people's eyes, like some sort of racist or something, but I'm pretty much sure that if you got good grades and you got the money, most schools probably don't give a fuck what your background is.
Correct.
What box you check on that piece of paper. It might mean that you get a little bit more funding. You get a couple Pell Grants that maybe wouldn't been available to someone who, let's say, isn't black, Asian, whatever the fuck. I mean, because I know that from Specs. Our black classmates, a couple of the people that I talked to, they were like, "Yeah, I got."
You got how much?
I got grants because I went through the Black Broadcasters Association, and they hand out so many grants per year. And I was like, "Now, was I pissed? Well, no." Why would I be pissed at them? If I'm going to be pissed, I should be pissed at the white broadcasters because they don't do that for us.
Where's those motherfuckers at?
Yeah, it's like Eddie Griffin said. He's like, one thing I'll give white people is when y'all have hostages, y'all go get them. Technically, we've been hostages in this country for 450 years, and not one motherfucker in a canoe with a spear has shown up.
Yeah.
So I mean...
I saw someone else do that too. Hey, I'm here to take you home.
I mean,
right, and this idea of there's white people out there that didn't get into the school of their choice directly because there was a scholarship given to some minority instead. I mean, first of all, that's not how it works. It's not like Plinko. They don't have like a number of slots open and they stack up people in there and go, okay, well, you're going to be the next one to drop in, unless the person behind you happens to be a minority, and we're going to let them drop in first.
Maybe. It might go on. And if you're looking at two students with a 4.0 and affirmative action says you're a little low on people who aren't white, that they're going to choose the minority.
Okay, but it's not like the white person doesn't have a lot of choices, and it's not like white people all over this nation don't get into the school of their choice every day.
And also to speak to something you said, Chris, that
I haven't heard from anybody who couldn't get an education that could afford it.
No, but what if they want to go to that school, but they get passed over because the school's got to fill a quota?
They get passed over for any number of reasons.
I'm saying if you're looking at people with two of the same exact credentials, both had a shit ton of whatever the fuck. It's
first of all almost impossible to prove, and second of all, just one of any number of reasons. Some mistake they made on their essay, some random choice, or even actual discrimination from a faculty member.
This is what I'm saying.
I don't like the cut of their jib. Get them the fuck out of here.
Great. Those are all valid reasons. I'm saying take the one that's in there out. Take that out of the deck.
Well, first of all, I really want to see the numbers on, because to me the claims that there's like these ridiculously high, artificially inflated quotas for schools to get non-white, non-male, non-straight people in. I want to see proof of it.
Well, I guess that's my whole point. If fairness is your goal, then it should be fair. Not one person should have a slight edge because of something neither of them have control over. I guess that's my whole point.
But at this point...
Well, yeah, but fairness is a goal, but not a reality.
Exactly. We're not dealing with people who want fairness. We're dealing with people who want the scales tipped in their favor because they feel historically that their group, whatever it may be, has been held down, and now it's time for them to get some payback. Even though I guarantee you in a couple hundred years, if there is, as Aaron puts it, a severe overcorrection and the socioeconomic scales completely flip and do a 180, I guarantee you in a couple hundred years, people at the top ain't going to be talking about the guilt they have for the poor white people at the bottom. I mean, it's like that meme I sent you guys. The logic in it is pretty fucking solid. One about, hey, look, nations conquer other nations all the time. You came from a nation that got conquered. Deal with it. Because if you go to Europe, you go to Northern Ireland, that's what the fuck the English tell the people in Northern Ireland who still want Ireland to be an independent country and not part of England, not part of the United Kingdom. You lost, get over it. I mean, that's what is said, flat out.
Yeah.
I mean, this whole thing of, we conquered the Indians or Native Americans. I'll never ever say the word Indian without hearing Aaron go, that's a misnomer. They're not from India.
Original Americans now.
It's factually not correct.
No, I get you there.
Not political correctness. It's just factually wrong.
Trust me, I get it when I say it too.
I'm right there with you, Aaron.
I'm like, they thought we were in India. It's not India. They're Native Americans.
But no, I mean, do you think the tribes that conquered other tribes, before we even were a thought over here, were apologizing?
No.
Do you think? Oh. Yeah. I mean, do you think in South America? I mean, you ever seen Apocalypto? I mean, they were fucking conquering other tribes, taking them up on their pyramids, chopping their heads off, and throwing them down the steps. Do you think they were going, hey, we're sorry about this as we do it? No.
But there's a lot of white people in this country that are extrapolating that to every other race and considering them all conquered people.
Well,
which I don't understand, because outside of Native Americans, who the fuck did anyone conquer here in America?
That's the problem.
Some Mexicans.
They don't look at a black American, a Latino American, someone who is a different race than themselves, who were born in this country. They don't consider them real Americans. Well, the only real Americans are white Americans. Whereas I look at people and I go, were you born here? Did you legally get your citizenship here? And you're just as much of an American as I am.
Did your parents, grandparents, somebody break their back, do everything they could to get to this country for an opportunity?
You're just as much of an American as me.
We all share that. We all share that.
And let me tell you something.
And under Trump's proposed law, none of that would have happened. My ancestors weren't getting in. I doubt yours were. Who the fuck would get in under his law?
Mine were brown and from the Middle East. Wouldn't even been allowed to get on the boat over there.
No.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, you'd have been. I think maybe my ancestors would have fared the best because they were Irish. But even then there was parts of this country that weren't very fond of the Irish. So I don't know.
Right.
I guess it depended on where they tried to settle down.
Maybe mine were Scottish, so we could barely speak English and probably lay some bricks. So definitely drive a spike through a rail.
But no, the people that, and you are right about that, the people who, I guarantee the person who sat down and created that meme wasn't thinking of the people who live in Detroit, the people who live in Dearborn, as just as much Americans as they are.
Right.
Because they're looking at it from a very racial, tribalistic point of view.
Because they're making it a culture war. And with them, the victors.
I mean, here's my thing. I don't really have pride, like national pride.
Yeah, me neither. I know.
Because I didn't do anything to earn it. I didn't like. I didn't. When I was floating around in whatever where we existed before we were born, I didn't tap my parents on the shoulder and say, "Hey, when you fuck, make sure to do it south of the Canadian border and north of the Mexican one." You know, I'm proud. I was born American. I'm proud I was born with blue eyes. How the fuck did you didn't earn it? Be proud of accomplishments, not shit that you had no control over. Now, once you're here, you can take pride in bettering your country. That makes sense. Hey, look, yeah, we made it a better country for the next, people that come after us. That makes sense. That's an accomplishment.
I remember, when you're a teenager and you have they're not necessarily always original thoughts, but they seem very prophetic to you at the time. Like it's almost like when you're looking up at the night sky and trying to comprehend infinity. Like you just feel like you're seeing the world from a whole different perspective, and you're the only one who sees that. But I remember one of the first type of teenage thoughts that I had was about luck. And how I think it stems from just understanding that the whole universe that we live in is born out of chaos, and we're lucky just to be fucking human. But how lucky I am to, let's start off with, born in this country.
Yeah.
Also born white in this country. Also born a male in this country. Now, I wasn't all down on myself like I ain't like Louis C.K. I wasn't thinking like I don't deserve anything or that there's something wrong with me. I was just like, to think of the circumstances to which you were born as a point of pride seems to misunderstand the chaos in the universe. But I guess if you believe in God, then you want to believe that God knows you and that God wanted you to be white and male and living in America. So I guess there's no getting through to that kind of thinking.
I mean, it's the best choice.
But if you take God out of the equation, I mean, what are you left with is just luck. Out of all the random chaos that happened in the universe, life happened, and then we happened, and then I happened at one of the best possible times in one of the best possible countries under some of the best possible circumstances. But that's nothing that I'm proud of. If anything, it makes you feel kind of ashamed for what you haven't accomplished with your life.
I know, right?
Because what excuses do you have?
Tom Brady turned 40 today.
Sofia Varga turned 45 and she was nude on some magazine.
Yeah, I actually got into this conversation with a few people online. It was someone posted an article about how parents, you need to be proud of your LGBTQ, whatever the fuck it is this week, children. And I was like, Proud of them because of
proud
that?
of what?
Because
be proud
of
of
who
them because they're
fuck?
good people,
Like,
right? Or they get good grades, or they do something nice, or they're just...
Here you go. Turn this around the other way. You can't do it. Like,
I'm proud of my heterosexual son. I am so proud that he is going to fuck so much pussy when he gets older.
Imagine, like,
I would never
your
say
folks
that.
being like, hey, all right, son, go get that pussy. Like,
You know what? I take that back. My father said to me once, I brought a girl home.
you decided to fuck girls. I'm proud of you.
He asked me, he said, so what's she like? And before we met her, and I, described her personality. He goes, okay, well, what's she look like? I said, well, she's all right looking. And I brought her home, and he met her. And then I took her home, and I came back, and he's like, boy, you fucking really buried the headline on that one. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, she's a stone cold fox. And I'm like, what are you proud that I can pull that? And he's like, I know it's irrational, but yeah, in a way.
That's my boy.
But I mean, like, if my daughter goes, Dad, I'm gay. Okay, I'm not proud of. If you pick a good partner, no matter what your sexual orientation is, someone who loves you, someone who's in your corner, someone who's got your back, then I'm proud of the choice you made. I'm proud of you to be aware of your surroundings and self-aware enough to not settle for the first person that comes through the fucking door because you're afraid of being alone.
Right. What if you have a gay son that's a total piece of shit? It's possible. Yeah. You don't have to be proud of him for being gay.
Yeah. What if Hitler was gay?
On other people?
Think his parents are proud of him?
What if he still picks on other kids and
good job,
smells
Adolf.
horrible and
kill those Jews?
Now, I put that forward, and I said, now I will say this: if my daughter came out and said she was gay, and then became a leader in the civil rights movement for gay equality, I would be proud of her for doing that because it's an accomplishment. She did something. Being proud of something that you can't control makes no sense to me. And of course, I got attacked for it. And you're a homophobe, and
right.
And this is the one I love. This is the new attack you get from the fucking far left. Boy, you work really hard at trying to act like you're an ally, but you're still a bigot. But you're still a bigot, and I'm like, that is so convenient that you can just have your cake and eat it too, isn't it?
Hey.
That you can just goalpost move in the middle of a conversation like that.
Hey, when you're a hammer, everything's a nail.
But I mean, honestly, and I know that like people, I've had black friends tell me, so you think it's stupid for people that are black to be proud? And I'm like, you want the truth? What did you do to choose to be black? What did you do to earn being black?
Right.
You were born that way, man.
Rich, you've brought it up a couple times now, the idea of millennials having more of a sense of justice than of personal freedom. And then I was listening to a story on NPR on my way home about how totalitarian governments are on the rise in this country. Totalitarian democracies, as in put a person into power and then give him all the power.
No.
And it seems like those things are definitely correlated, and that we in the U.S. are not necessarily immune to that, especially given that socially we're on the forefront of restricting freedoms for the idea of just not offending people, not even like trying to save people from harm, just that nobody gets offended.
My rebuttal to that way of thinking is our current president. Give somebody like that all the power? Good fucking luck.
Right, but when his hardcore supporters say shit like, I think that Trump should start his own state-run media, I don't think they're trolling. I think they believe that shit.
Dude, that's some fucking
because
great leader kind of shit.
That is literally Russia. Russia has state-run media.
That's Kim Jong-il. Oh,
that
the
is
great leader.
I forget the name of it, but they have a
Vlad TV.
I'm sure it's no longer just a newspaper, but it used to be Pravka, something like that.
Yeah.
Anyways, it used to be just a newspaper. I'm sure it's expanded just like every other media has into the digital age. But yeah, I've seen my brother comment on stuff and to tell people, fuck your rights if another person's feelings are going to be hurt.
That is so backwards.
And I'm like, you're all game for that right now,
right?
Until it's your rights being taken away.
Like the founding fathers probably would have just shot you if you said that. Like, oh, nope, he doesn't belong here.
Well, I don't understand how people don't get that. Just because right now you think you're on the side of righteousness, that this is why I have a problem with third and fourth wave feminism. Nothing's ever good enough. There's no end goal. They're always fighting for more and more and more and more. And at a certain point, if the playing field's level, what are you fighting for? You're no longer fighting for equality. You're fighting for dominance. You have now become the exact thing that you hate. And people who, and I don't know if my brother still feels this way, and I don't even know if he really felt that way when he posted that. He might have just been pissed off and, said it and then calmed down and was like, well, that was stupid. I don't know. I'm not speaking for him, but I'm just saying what he posted one time. The question I would ask him when I talked to him about it would be, what makes you think that after a certain point, these people that you're standing with now won't turn on you? And then they're taking your rights away. And they're telling you that you need to shut up because you're a straight white male and you have no right to talk right now. And I've seen it. I've seen it on that Third Wave Feminism Facebook page. I sent you guys a picture they posted. And I said, this is my type of feminism. And I had a black woman with her mouth over a white woman's, or her hand over a white woman's mouth. And I watched all these comments from white people, male and female, saying, that's right. That's right. That's how it's supposed to be. Really?
Oh, it's like the situation that we've gotten ourselves in with the idea that it used to be that we had to admit that women were just as smart as men. Well, yeah, no shit. They're people. There's dumb people, there's smart people. But now we have to say, men has to say, especially if they're talking anywhere in any kind of public forum, women are smarter than men. And everybody, men and women, all nod. Oh, yeah. Oh, we know that. Oh, this whole world would be better if it was run by women. Oh, really? Because we've seen matriarchies and they're just as violent. But, okay, go on. Tell me about how women have no tendency to be violent or conquer others or control others.
Yeah, but notice it's called human nature, not male-female nature. It's human nature.
Right, but
power corrupts.
The podcast that I love listening to is Stuff You Should Know, and I forget what the subject was that they were talking about, but for some reason the idea of the subject of women's intelligence came up, and it was like, well, we all know that women are smarter than men. Co-host, oh yeah, fully. What the fuck are you talking about? That's equality? Admitting that because you were born with tits and a vagina, you're automatically smarter? That's nonsense. So what are you really doing? Are you trying to appease somebody? Are you trying to make it look like, hey, I'm feminist, I support women? Because that just kind of comes off as creepy. So either you're a creepy dude or you're just factually incorrect.
When I was a kid, my father told me something, and I'm glad I took it to heart and listened to him, because a lot of shit I didn't, and I paid for it years later. But this one I did take to heart. He said, "Don't pay attention to what people say. Pay attention to what they do, because they're going to tell you everything you need to know about them by their actions." And this is basically, I'm getting from these people who say, I'm a feminist and I want equality. That's what their words say, but their actions don't show that. They don't care about any issue that doesn't affect them. And if it's an issue that doesn't further their cause, they really don't care about it.
Right.
And
the issue isn't equality. It's I'm angry and afraid, and I want to control other people so that me and other people like me don't have to be angry and afraid.
I mean, right now, the number of women enrolling and finishing college is growing at a rate it's never been at before, and the number of men is falling at a rate it's never been at before.
Yeah.
You don't hear feminists who fight for equality bemoaning those numbers. But if it was the reverse, we would never hear the end of it. You don't hear feminists addressing the fact that Newsweek, USA Today, Johns Hopkins, all places that very intelligent people work, have proven the myth of the wage gap. It's an earnings gap, not a wage gap. Because, 9 of the 10 least paid, lowest paying jobs that you can have with a college degree, those fields are dominated by women. And 8 of the top paying jobs for a college degree are dominated by men, because women don't go and get those degrees. They go into the social sciences, stuff like that. They also take more time off. And this wage gap, this myth of the wage gap, doesn't take that into account, because the people go, la, 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 we don't want to hear that, because then that proves us wrong. So they just keep pounding and pounding and pounding at it. And now it's turned into, if you don't agree with that and you hand them facts from people who have no dog in this fight, just cold hard facts, no opinion, no nothing attached to them, they're actually, stop presenting your hate facts to me. Stop mansplaining to me. And it's like, then you have reached a point where you're past the point of me caring about you as a human being anymore.
Yeah, and you know what story I never want to read ever again in my life? A wage gap story about the entertainment industry.
Yeah.
Some Asian actor got paid less than somebody else. Some woman actor got paid less than somebody else. Shut the fuck up, you're all overpaid.
Did you
be happy that you have a job like this?
Did you hear about how supposedly?
And if you want diversity, don't fucking watch CBS, because it's for old people.
Did you hear the recent story about Gail Godot after is how you pronounce her name? Godot.
I found out it's Godot, even though any other human being with the last name spelled like that pronounces it Godot because they're French, but apparently she's not French.
Yeah, she's Israeli. Yeah. I know that she's Israeli.
Right.
But anyways, yeah.
But it's still a French name.
Also hot.
So her first appearances, Wonder Woman, was in Batman vs Superman.
Yep.
And she was paid $600,000.
Yeah.
And feminists had a fucking field day online. This is bullshit. Chris Evans is paid X amount of millions to be...
Because people know who
Captain
he
America.
is.
Hold on. Here was the best part. So the studio, to defend themselves, said, actually, you're wrong. Chris Evans' first appearance as Captain America, he was paid $750,000. And his contract was, every time he appears in another Marvel movie as Captain America, he gets a pay raise. So as long as the movies are successful and the franchise keeps going, he keeps getting paid more. By the way, that's the exact same contract Gail Gadot signed.
Right, and also that Gail Gadot was one of 3 characters in a movie, and she wasn't in the title like the other 2 were. And while she played a part in that movie, definitely, she was not a top biller.
It's a small part.
Chris
you
Evans
get paid accordingly.
Played Captain America, the guy with the his character is the name of the movie.
His name's in the title, yeah.
I mean, don't you generally get paid in accordance to screen time as well?
Also,
screen time in the draw of your name? We
also knew who the fuck he was. That's absolutely right. I mean, he was the Human Torch already.
It's like when fucking, what's her name? J-Law was bitching about, what was it? What was the movie that won a whole bunch of awards? Bradley Cooper, Ben Affleck. What movie was that? Argo. Like, she was bitching that she didn't get paid as much as them. She wasn't nobody. She wasn't anybody when she made that movie. She would have been, what, in the Hunger Games, maybe?
Yeah. The first one.
Yeah, she wasn't anybody. People knew who the fuck Ben Affleck and Bradley Cooper were. They proved that they were a box office draw. Argo got her an Oscar, made her a name. I bet you now they cast that movie again. She's getting paid more than those motherfuckers.
But see, here's the thing.
No doubt.
When presented with facts, all these feminists that were having a feeding frenzy on this story dropped out of the comment section. And the ones that didn't resorted to the stop mansplaining with your hate facts. And I'm like, is that an actual thing? Hate facts? Facts are hateful now? Facts walk around with an agenda?
Alternative facts, hate facts.
Like, yeah, for facts to be a non-living entity, it certainly has a hell of a agenda.
It's got range.
Yeah, I mean, so these are type of people that you're never going to get through to. You're never going to change their mind. And I'm quickly getting to the point where I'm agreeing with Perry Farrell off of Nothing Shocking. Some people deserve to die. That's just common knowledge. I mean, so, it's like my stepmother once said when I was a kid, she goes, I just wish we could have an invention that we didn't necessarily kill stupid people. It'd be just like a machine that they just walk into and cease to exist. And I said, besides the fact that you're saying cease to exist is death, that's basically killing them. I said, I get that, but we kind of frown on that. Didn't we try that in World War II?
Let's come out the other end of World War II? A fine red mist on the other end.
I'm like, I don't think that worked out for the German people so well in the late 30s and early 40s, but that's just me, I don't know. But no, I'm starting to understand her point of view. I'm wondering if we're going to get to the point where we're just going to give these fucking malcontents who are never happy, and they always have to have an enemy, and if they don't have one, they'll turn on each other, or they'll create one out of one of their own ranks. Can't we just give them like their own part of the country and wall it off and let them live there? Because I guarantee you, in a generation or two, it's going to be pretty fucking barren compared to what it was when we first put them in there.
Remember the George Carlin bit? Like one of his last bits towards maybe, I don't know, the last 5-10 years of his life, when he talked about just dividing up the country into sections, and every few months you open up the walls, let everybody loose, let them all intermingle, kill and fuck each other.
It's like give them a purge day.
Yeah,
exactly. Well, because guys, I don't know about you, but I'm tired of people walking around constantly going, here's the problem, here's the problem, here's the problem, here's the problem. Great, wonderful.
Yeah.
You're the 1 billionth person to point the problem out. What is your solution? Well, here's the problem, here's the problem, here's the problem, here's the problem. Then shut up.
We know there's a problem. Every time I hear I want to start a dialogue about race, it's been started, motherfucker. It's been going for a while.
Right.
Just
wait. Somebody stopped talking about it at one point for us to restart a dialogue on race.
Say what you really want to say. This is the part where I want to jump in to the dialogue that's already going about race.
The Marines have a saying: lead, follow, or get the fuck out of the way. And I kind of want to apply it to these people, because if all you can do is point out issues and problems and offer no solutions, then you're not helping or hurting. It's real simple. And I'm not even going to make it as extreme as if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. If all you can do is bitch and complain about what you don't like, and you're not willing to sit down and try to come up with a solution, just go away.
Hey,
go away.
It's like I've been screaming since all the Trump protests started. Like, this sucks is not a strategy.
It is, and that's another thing. when those protests started, I was like, look, I understand they're pissed off. But then after a while, I'm like, okay, you're pissed off, and what are you accomplishing by doing this? I don't understand. Nothing's changing. Where was it? And then I really started to kind of feel like you do, Chris. Where the fuck was all this enthusiasm on first Tuesday in November?
Yeah. Or just in general. Before November 8th, 2016.
I mean, I just read an article that Generation X and millennials, those two generations combined, outnumber any other generations or all other generations added together in this country.
And the baby boomers are still making all the decisions.
Yep.
Shame on us.
We can only lay the blame at our feet. That's on us. And when I say us, I'm squarely in that fucking in the Generation X category. But then, like I said last week, other times I feel like, what's the point? Nothing ever changes. We're just arguing about sprinkles on the donut. The donut always stays the same. No, I want blue ones. No, I want red ones. That's the argument.
And this time we got that wild card donut. Wasn't supposed to be in the mix.
We got the sprinkles that were rejected from the factory.
Yeah.
That's not even a color found in nature. What the fuck is that? Get that off my donut, man. What the fuck?
What is this, chocolate? I can't tell. Is that lemon?
But yeah, I mean, and here's the irony in this entire discussion, especially the last half hour or so, is that I'm sure if enough people listen, someone's sitting there going, fuck them, white males, bunch of straight white males, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
Middle-aged, middle-class straight white males.
Yeah, you don't have to listen to my opinion, and I don't have to listen to yours.
But that's the beauty of it. Those people never have that attitude. Their attitude is, you better listen to my opinion, but I refuse to listen to yours.
I think it's more your opinion is wrong and you have to be corrected.
Yes. Well, remember.
Even if by force.
Remember our talk about the basketball player who believes the earth is flat. That's just his opinion, and he's entitled to his own opinion. That's where we're at now in society.
Yes.
The earth is flat is an opinion. No, an opinion is, I don't like Brussels sprouts. The earth being flat is a flat out, no pun intended, wrong fact. Sorry.
Right. My opinion doesn't count. Just because I hate gravity doesn't mean I can fly.
Gravity sucks. I'm out of here.
Fuck physics.
Yeah. I feel I can fly. Good luck with that, buddy.
All right, R. Kelly. Just do me a favor and try to take off from the ground. Yeah. Actually, know what? Fuck it. Take off from the highest building you can find. We'll get you out of the gene pool one way or the other.
Oh, see? That kind of talk could land you in jail, Rich.
Yeah, don't text it to anybody.
I know. Definitely can't post it on Facebook. I'll get zuckered real quick.
You got zucked.
No, I mean, I kind of agree with that old meme that I saw, 15 years ago. I'm not saying let's kill stupid people. Let's just take all the warning labels off and let nature run its course.
No, right?
Yeah.
Who really needs directions on shampoo?
I've never had the thoughts in the last 6 months, even a year, that maybe the social media thing isn't the greatest idea. And I never thought I would think that, because I'd love to. We do podcasts. Well, I'm a fan of free expression.
I think the thing with social media is there's two understandings that I have. One, there's certain people that are just a dog with a bone. That's their issue. And either I've accepted that or I don't follow them. And then there's also a lot of, well, especially on Twitter, which is the one that I use these days. You have to understand that, and this is part of the reason why I hate when real news organizations publish tweets, because these are supposed to be just random thoughts. Like, most people aren't tweeting sections from their manifesto. They're sitting on the toilet thinking about something and going, oh yeah, I'm going to tweet that. So,
like the president.
Not every tweet needs to be taken as that is part of that person's core beliefs or whatever it is. I mean, maybe they're just mad about something.
Like transgenders in the military.
You know, I posted something on Facebook after Sandy Hook about how there shouldn't be any guns in this country. I don't believe that. I was upset. It was a fucked up story, and I was like, what the fuck is going on with this country? And that was my immediate reaction to it.
See, Facebook needs an "Are you sure" button.
Well, because that's part of,
are you sure?
That's part of the reason why I like going to Twitter, is because you do get that. I mean, a lot of it is just nonsense. It's.
This I thought should be only when you're drunk.
I'm not trying to point the finger at you. I understand that, like, social media is very ridiculous and some stupid shit is said on it. Certainly, nobody can argue that. But you have to take a certain amount of personal responsibility in how you look at all this stuff. Certainly, if it's, you know, one Twitter feed or one Facebook page, it's always the same thing, always the same issue. Well, yeah, you can get a pretty good feel with what that person or that organization is all about. But, you know, like, if the tweet about Trump supporting state-run media was just one random occurrence from this person, I probably wouldn't even mention it. It's because I know from all their other tweets that, you know, they are all the way up Trump's ass and have no concept of what the country of America is supposed to look like to the rest of us who live here. But if it was just some random tweet that somebody put out, okay, so somebody had a stupid thought, and now it's out there forever unless they get enough backlash that they actually delete it.
I just think there's more. To me, all the ugliness is in, like, the comment sections of anything.
Yeah.
Twitter, Facebook, YouTube.
Hey, what's our Twitter? What's our Facebook?
At Unregimented Pod. And we're on Facebook. I believe that's right. Search for Unregimented.
You can find our own brand of vile filth.
Yeah, so you can email the show unregimented at christophermedia.net. Leave a comment, rate it 5 stars. All that happy horse shit. But, yeah. Every week. It should just be the new sign-off. Who fucking knows what's going to happen in the next 7 days? So thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week.
All right. Later, guys.
If you like this show, please tell a friend. Please follow us on Twitter and like and share us on Facebook by searching for Christopher Media. You can subscribe to all ChristopherMedia.net shows for free on ChristopherMedia.net. Please make sure to rate and comment on all your favorite Christopher Media shows. Thank you in advance for supporting Christopher Media by clicking on the PayPal button and by clicking through to all the sponsors who support ChristopherMedia.net. Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net, and thank you for listening. Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.
You might not think that a few simple words could make you crave McDonald's breakfast sandwiches. But if you listen closely to the sound of me saying McGriddles, McMuffin, you might be wrong. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.